Hi, Matt.
Hi, Phil.
If you will, I'd like you to just imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie for me.
Yeah,
Have you got that? I'm just doing some vocal warm-up tongue twisters to warm up the vocals.
Warm up the vocals
for the podcast.
Just get them ready.
Yeah.
I prefer to just drink a hot glass of Tizer.
That's not hot.
Yeah, it is a
room
boiled
temperature. No, you didn't.
I'll just put my thermometer in. Yeah, boiling.
That's the tip of your finger, clearly.
Isn't that nature's thermometer?
Not really.
I always pop this in the arsehole when I'm ill.
Why?
Just to see if I'm ill.
Yeah, just see if you are.
Fever, but at least I feel good.
Happy Comic-Con.
What about Comic-Con?
Happy Comic-Con. First of all,
I'm not really sure what it is.
well, even before getting into the philosophy of it, is it Comic-Con or Comic-Con?
I thought it was the second one.
Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to stick with that then. Because we're going to say that a lot throughout today's episodes. Today's Comic-Con special. Oh my god, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, yeah. The Internet Digest is where we look at things from the past week on the internet.
Digest them on our bellies.
Yeah, proverbially.
And then poo out a podcast with all the best bits involved.
Shit, that is sort of the implication, isn't it? We'll have to rebrand this.
Yeah. Although you shit out only waste. And we shit out the waste and only give you the nutrients.
Oh, that's true.
So we do the shit on our own time, and this is like helping your body.
We're like the stomach or the kidneys or something like that, and you're the rest of the organism. So we're inside you in a very real way, like gut bacteria.
Sexy gut bacteria, though.
Hot gut bacteria, yeah. Like Tabasco gut bacteria sort of thing.
Yeah.
Jalapeno gut bacteria. Is it jalapeno or jalapeno? Or jalapeno?
Jalapeno.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Can I have extra jalapenos, please?
Is that how you say it? That's a perfect accent. Anyway, this week the internet has been focused quite heavily on Comic-Con. So we thought we'd do a Comic-Con special.
Well, some of the internet has been focused on.
A lot of the internet has been focused on the news.
The news-based things have been covering the news.
I went to Sierra Leone last week.
How's that?
Well, I did a bit of a faux pas. Because I bought... I thought it'd be fun. What are you looking at there?
Nothing, my phone just lit up.
It's probably someone texting you saying, can I be on? Tell them no, quick.
It does just say somebody is typing on Snapchat. Would you put no?
Why does Snapchat notify you that someone's typing?
I've no idea.
Hate it.
It's a shit app.
Yeah, anyway, I bought Ebola over there. Oops. And people just need to shut up about it because it wasn't really my
700
fault.
dead wasn't my fault.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the idea to bring a water balloon full of
Ebola.
diseasey water, then you're going to do it because it's a funny idea, and it was funny.
And then you hit that kid right on the head.
Well, I met with a sheikh, and we did loads of coke and meth and heroin and PCP. And my judgment was admittedly impaired. And I went to like a playground, and there were kids there, and I thought, what are kids like? Oh, water balloons. Yeah, threw one at one of the kids.
Splat.
It's their fault, really, for having such a shit immune system.
Yeah, if they'd had a jab, they'll be fine.
Yeah, have your Ebola jabs, people. Remember. So that's out of the way. That's news done.
That's news done.
Any Pope news? There has been some Pope news.
Any Pope news? He's just chilling, I think.
The Pope listed 10 tips for happiness. I don't know if you saw that. But
No. What was number one?
Oh, I don't care.
Probably something to do with God.
They're probably all wrong and gay. They're probably stupid.
Probably just his opinion.
Fucking Pope. But I think he's following the BuzzFeed/Cracked/Listverse formula.
He's just getting him out.
Yeah.
He's clickbaiting.
Top 10. He's clickbaiting, yeah. He's clickbaiting ethics. That's... Spinoza was the first to do so.
And now he's
with his
on.
top 7 easy, quick fixes, life hacks for an ethical life. And now Benedict, that's his name, isn't it? Benny.
No.
What's his name?
That was the last Pope.
Ratzinger.
No.
Yeah, but that was the last Pope, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Benedict
This
Ratzinger.
one's Francis.
Oh yeah, Francis.
Pope Francis is like 84th or something. There's been millions of them. I don't know why they don't go for different names, but whatever.
We'll get onto that next episode. What we'll do is we'll dedicate a full episode to Pope news next time, and we'll talk about some of the slip-ups that the popes have done, like having
both literal and not literal.
Yeah. So we just watched. Yeah.
My impression of a pope falling over.
What was he slipping on?
Banana peel.
Yeah. Phew.
One of the cardinals just had a quick potassium snack.
Or maybe he was slipping on some some of the Guam, Guano.
Guam, the country.
Yeah, bird shit. What's that called? Guano.
Can be.
Gorno.
If you want it to be.
Gordo.
You can call it whatever you want. I'll probably just call it bird shit.
Oh no, it's got a name. Guam.
Bird
He probably
feces.
slipped on Guam. And for that, because there are all sorts of birds in the Vatican.
Vatican.
Shitting all over the place.
Just doing poos.
Yeah. Anyway, we just watched some trailers that came out of Comic-Con.
We did.
We watched loads of them. Shall we? I'm just going to read. I'm going to reel and read off the list, and then we'll just talk about them. First one we watched was Hot Tub
Time Machine.
How do you know I was going to say that? No, not necessarily.
It was though, wasn't it?
Hot Tub Time Machine. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. First thing I noticed is that at the start of this trailer, they recapped a bit by showing you a bit of the previous movie. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, remember when these guys went out and got on a hot tub? And I was thinking, where's John Cusack? Where's the most famous one? Where's the protagonist?
Didn't hang about there, did he?
Yeah.
He took his money and left.
Yeah. So I don't think he's in Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
But he's not doing a huge amount, so I didn't know why he didn't take it. Maybe he hated the entire cast.
Yeah, that's likely.
But I enjoyed Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, I really liked it.
In a sort of meh way.
No, I thought it was one. I loved it. Best movie. Yeah, I said it.
The best movie ever.
Well, yeah. It's the Citizen Kane of movies.
Yeah. Well, it was good. I remember thinking this is better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Does it warrant a sequel 3 or 4 years down the line? No.
Yeah, they should have done a sequel before, really.
This is the thing about comedy sequels. They're just often a bit, oh, we'll do one because the last one made a bit of money.
Yeah.
And trailers are hard to judge a film by. And that's sort of my opinion on all the trailers we watch.
Yeah.
You go, oh, that could be alright, or it could be equally terrible. And comedy is a big one as well because they often put a lot of the best jokes in the trailer.
Yeah, that's
you
what
go
I
and
thought,
see
yeah.
it, and it's just dog shit.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the humour of Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is going to be Craig Robinson and that other guy and that guy.
Yeah.
Sort
But
of,
you would know, but you don't know their names.
Yes, exactly. Sort of like looking at something and saying what it is and then pausing and then describing it in a humorous way.
Yeah.
That looks like Tyler Perry character. Stuff like
Yeah, those references they're not really that clever, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
They can be funny.
Yeah. Like there's
20 of them in a row is a bit tiring.
There's a bit where Violator, the bald guy, I remember his name from the previous one. There's a bit where he farts in the hot tub, and it's like, oh, the Craig Robinson and his mate are like, oh, it smells like death. Oh, it's all he ever wrote was poison, and it's just that thing of like ruminating and then saying something vaguely humorous with a deadpan expression.
I mean, it could be hilarious.
Yeah, maybe it is.
I'm not saying it's not going to be good, but I don't have any high hopes for it.
No.
I didn't watch that film and think, I can't wait till they do another one of those.
No.
I think that about every film. The Hangover didn't need 3.
I've only watched the first Hangover still.
The first one, great. It was funny.
The first one was so overhyped and overblown. It was good.
It was good. When did you see it? Did you see it when it came out?
Yeah,
or like
when
afterwards?
When it came out.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Everyone was like, this is the best comedy ever. This is amazing.
I wouldn't say it's the best comedy ever, but I laughed a lot and thought, this is good.
Yeah.
Second one, dreadful. Third one, less dreadful, but still dreadful. They're doing a second Ted as well. Unnecessary. Don't need to do that.
Why are they doing another Ted? Don't do that.
Why do... I don't think there's any comedy films that I've ever seen and go, I can't wait for the next one.
Dumb and Dumber. Can't wait for Dumb and Dumber T.O.
You're going to be disappointed by it.
Well, yeah, I am. I was already disappointed by the trailer that was on
it's just
a few months ago.
Especially when they leave it such a long distance.
Yeah, like 20 years is a bit too much.
What are you doing? You should call it a day.
Speaking of Ted, I saw a really appropriate comment about Seth MacFarlane the other day, which is that Seth MacFarlane is the Tyler Perry of white people.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's quite apt, I think.
Tyler Perry he's so much money.
Yeah.
He's ridiculously... I've never seen anything he's ever done ever.
That's because you're not black. That's the whole thing people say is that...
But is it literally...
Well, not really, no, because that's generalising and a little bit racist. But people always say that he only markets his movies to... Like South Park did a thing about it. And it's like,
but if it works and makes you money, why not?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Just good marketing sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Comedy sequels often never as good. I imagine it'll be a 2.5 stars out of 5.
2.5 out of 5?
Yeah.
What, from you?
Yeah, I imagine that's what it'll be, general consensus.
It's interesting that you went for the 5-star system.
Yeah, instead of out of 10.
Yeah, is that what you always do, 5-star?
Well, because 5 out of 10 seems bad. You go, oh, that's bad, but that's bang in the middle.
Yeah. 5 out of 10 is like 0.
Yeah.
And then the closest you get to 10 out of 10 is 9.0.
But if you say a film is 3 stars out of 5, you go, oh, that sounds okay. Sounds, no, not terrible. Yeah. But if I give something like a 6, you go, oh, you didn't enjoy it that much.
The 10-point scale is broken. I've actually satirised this in the past.
Have you?
Yeah, in other podcasts.
Oh, so I'll give that a listen. That sounds hilarious.
Every episode of The Bedside Chronicles.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
With PB&J?
Yeah. Dead now, though, they are. They died.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
One love. Pour out a fat one.
A little bit of...
don't pour out.
For our fallen brothers.
That would just make a sticky spot on the floor. That's Tizer.
There's enough sticky spots on the floor already.
Hey! From what? Seam?
No.
Oh, sorry. Oh, right. Sorry.
I know a lot of dead people.
You know a lot of dead people?
Yeah, I'm just constantly feeling...
So that's HTTM2 for you?
Yeah, 2.5 stars I'm giving it.
I'm
reviewing it before I've seen anything of the film. 2.5 stars out of 5.
Do you know what? On the Kevin and Bean show,
yeah.
they have a feature that's literally that, so you're not even original. They have a feature where...
fuck you,
Kevin or Bean, or possibly Ralph Garman. I think it's Ralph Garman, watches a trailer and then reviews it before having seen it. So...
Well, I think
egg on your face.
This will be enjoyable, but not good at all.
2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. The next trailer we watched, Horns, with Daniel Radcliffe. This was weird, because he's
very
American
weird
accent.
I feel that Daniel Radcliffe will forever be Harry Potter, and as much as he tries to be anything but Harry Potter, it's not going to work.
Do you think?
Yeah, he's not typecast, but that's the role he's going to be synonymous with now forever. Because Harry Potter made 8 of the fucking movies. Yeah, it went on for like 50, I don't know how many years, far too long.
Yeah, a long time.
They were all about 8 hours long.
Yeah. There's a lot wrong with Harry Potter movies.
The people that were like targeted by Harry Potter were sort of his age.
Yeah.
So as he grows up, as he continues to grow up, the people will grow with him and go, oh, Harry Potter's now got grey hair. But, it's still going to be Harry Potter.
Yeah, but younger kids.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to fucking watch Horns.
Yeah, they are.
They're going to watch Harry Potter's now an institution for reasons I'm not quite sure of. Yeah. And they'll just be in circulation forever and ever. Whenever ITV's got fucking 2 hours free, we'll throw on a random one. They're going to be on forever and ever and ever.
Because do you remember the first couple of Harry Potter movies were Christmas movies?
They were
and then they stopped doing that. They were directed by someone else, and then I think Chris Columbus. Well, that's your opinion.
It's my opinion. They weren't good though. They were very childish movies.
Yeah, they were. But when I was like 11, I was like, "Oh, this is quite good." I've
only watched 2 of them. I'm going to be honest.
Have you watched the first 2?
Yeah, and I hated both of them.
You've not watched the latest ones?
No.
They went from being like good in a sort of campy way to bad in a campy way.
Yeah. To
just fairly good, but not very good.
Yeah. What I did with Harry Potter is I read the first 3. Thought 1 and 2
were books.
Yeah,
boring.
Thought 1 and 2 were pretty poor.
Yeah,
I quite enjoyed 3, and then 4 was about 3 times as long.
Yeah, she just started writing too much.
And it's just like
hired an editor.
She desperately needed an editor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she did have an editor.
Yeah, but I mean a better editor.
Yeah,
I got about halfway through it, and I just thought, I'll read this later, and never bothered.
Yeah,
And then it seemed to really pick off from there.
Yeah,
and everyone was like, I love it, it's the best thing ever, and I'd already given up on it completely.
Do you remember, I don't know what year it was, but when one of the books was released and everyone was like, Dumbledore dies out of like car windows and stuff like that.
People, I don't know where it came from, it just took off.
Well, it's a cultural phenomenon, isn't it?
She made herself a lot of money then.
Yeah.
So I suppose she doesn't give a shit what I think.
Well, she's writing the new Harry Potter movie. Did you know this?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the movie. And it's set in like New York.
Is it going to have any of the characters in it?
No.
Oh, that's fine then.
It's set in the 20s, so...
But it would make so much money.
I'm excited to see it.
She's in that position now where she can literally write shit.
Yeah, and she does. She wrote like... she's got a website, pottermore.com.
Yeah.
Where she wrote she writes little snippets about stuff, and the other day she wrote a snippet involving Harry Potter.
Whoa.
And it was in the news, and I read it, and it was shit. It was so bad. It was just like, it was...
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I suppose she just has to keep doing something, because she has enough money to literally do nothing, ever.
Yeah. But even in the snippet things that she wrote, like, 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was, it was still... She still has to keep up that writing style, which must be a bore of going. And then the squibbly boob said to the the blooby dooby doo. It's like you must get really tired of that after a decade or 2 decades or whatever it's been.
I never ever connected with it in the way that literally everybody else seemed to.
I massively did, but I'm also quite aware of how bad it is. It's one of those things where it's like Star Trek. I'm really into Star Trek, but I know it's shit.
It's like I don't, judge anybody who did, but everybody did. It's the other way around, if anything. I always go, I only read a couple of the books, I've only seen 2 of the films. People are like, oh my god, what, you need to see it? I'm like, well, I don't, because I have literally zero interest in it, because it didn't do it for me.
It's like me in football.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like anybody and an interest they don't have that a lot of other people have.
Which literally everyone has something like that.
But at the exact same time, I really connected with do you remember the Lemony Snicket books? A series of unfortunate events. And there was like 10 of them, and they were great.
And they had one film.
And they had one film, and it wasn't
with Jim Carrey.
And Billy Connolly.
Was he in it?
Yeah, he played Snake, the guy who kept all the reptiles.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name.
The thing is with that movie is that they shoehorn in like loads of the novels into one.
I think they did 3 in one, because there was like 10. They can't make 10 films.
Yeah, they can.
Well, they can.
Yeah.
But
especially with Jim Carrey, that's some clout.
Yeah, it was a decent cast, but it was all right. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah, I've forgotten almost everything about a series of unfortunate events.
I remember the books they came in as well. They came in sort of covers. Really nice.
The other day I was sitting on my bedroom floor for some reason.
Yeah, and doing a bit of meditation.
No, I wasn't. I was just sitting down, and I was eye level with my books, which I'm not usually. I never go to my bookshelf.
Yeah, you just keep it for when people come round.
Well, I keep it because I don't want to throw away books.
Yeah,
because it feels weird.
Valuable.
But I just download ebooks now, or don't read, watch TV instead.
That's good.
Movies. And I saw a series of unfortunate events, the first one, and picked it up. And like you said, remember the cover. Something about the cover.
Yeah, the artwork's really nice, isn't it? And the covers where it's like the sort of framey sort of.
Yeah, it's like tactile. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I really connected with those. And they're not similar, but it is that sort of child, orphan, genre-y type.
Yeah. It's like a fantastic-y, magical-y world.
Yeah.
Someone recommended the book American Gods to me as a sort of adult alternative to Harry Potter. And I read it, and it was sort of nothing at all like Harry Potter, but it was really good. You should read that book.
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman, yeah. And there's a TV series coming out at some point.
I do like Neil Gaiman.
I like him as well. He lives in Wisconsin. Little fact for you.
Oh, stop.
He lives in Menominee.
Really?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Wow.
We know someone from Menominee, don't we?
Me too.
Cool little fact for the listeners. So yeah, Horns, what do you think?
Horns?
We've not talked about it.
The whole premise of the film was Daniel Radcliffe seemed to have a very hot girlfriend. She seemed to die.
Juno Temple? Or Heather Graham?
I don't know. Juno Temple.
I can't tell if Juno Temple's hot. I mean, she definitely is, so I can tell.
Yeah.
But she's got a weird face.
No, they all do.
Women.
No, I don't know. She's hot. She's in Hollywood.
Yeah, but she's English.
Probably attractive.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
I remember from The Thing. I couldn't tell you what her face looks like.
Her face looks weird. Do you want me to show you her face?
Yeah, show me.
I mean, she's probably listening, which is a bit embarrassing because she's going to be listening to us saying that her face is weird and she probably really idolises us. There's her face, look.
Oh, okay, bit weird. She looks like my cousin's wife, so...
Maybe it is.
If she's listening, I don't fancy her. I think you're boring.
I think that Juno Temple is going to really come into her face when she's about 50.
How old is she now?
Oh, about 20, 21, 22, 23,
Oh, they're all 25. Was she in Killer Joe? Have you ever seen Killer Joe?
It's 25. No, I've not.
Really good. It's got Matthew Mahogany in.
Matthew McConaughey, that's pronounced.
And he's really good. It's a really, really good film.
It's got 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I believe you.
Yeah, but Horns. So Juno Temple may or may not die. He gets accused of it, gets off with it, everyone thinks he did it, he grows horns.
Out of his head. Like a devil.
Yeah.
And then from the trailer, what I got from it is that...
he went a bit devilly.
Yeah, he actually started manipulating people and telling people to do... Like he says in his fake American accent, why don't you guys fight each other? And they do, and it's like, that's so cool. And then he's got a snake.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's this thing about trailers. It could be really great and fascinating and a real insight into the human mind. Or it could just be a bit shit. And I'm sort of leaning towards it's probably going to be a bit shit.
Well, I will say that I believe it's reviewed really well so far.
Oh, right, okay.
From the critics. And the book that it's based on, written by, I think his name's Joe Hill, I can't remember, Stephen King's son. I'm just going to quickly look that up.
Have you heard the rumours that Stephen King doesn't write all his own books?
Yeah, go on. You've told me, but I can't remember. What's the rumour?
Well, because they vary in quality so much, and he produces such a vast amount of books, people have questioned whether he does actually write them all or not.
Who would write them?
Yeah, just ghostwriters who just like... He might have the idea. I'm not saying he doesn't have any involvement in it, but he'll just say, this, and this.
Yeah.
Pay somebody to do it. And because he knows...
Spell cemetery wrong, go.
Well, because he knows his name now is sort of synonymous with that sort of horror book genre.
Yeah.
And he will sell. Whether it's shit or not, he's going to sell and make money. Yeah. I don't know if it's true. I've not researched into it. It's purely...
Hang on. Here is why that theory doesn't work, because he's written under a pseudonym before, Richard Bachman.
Yeah.
So
when?
70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's not the 70s and 80s anymore. That's an old man.
That's true.
I'm not saying he does do it.
Apparently.
I'm not saying he does do it, or I have any proof that he does it. It's just something I've heard.
I want to see if this is on the Wikipedia page. Conspiracy.
And could be true.
Ghost. No. I want to Google this. I want to dive into this conspiracy theory because it sounds interesting. Stephen King doesn't write his own books word for word. Might be Google. This is on TomBarryWrites.com. Brilliant surname, but Stephen King exposed books, not all his own work! Exclamation mark. There's a space before the exclamation mark, so I don't really trust Tom Barry. I'm not going to read this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something
first comment is by a guy called David Biddle.
It's just literally something I've heard.
I don't think that's true. But maybe it is. But even if it is... maybe
he's still written a huge amount of books.
Maybe Joe Hill, his son, wrote some of his books then, if that is true.
Yeah. You never know.
But apparently Joe Hill's books are really good, and apparently Horns, the Joe Hill book, or Joe King, is really good.
I've not read the book. I've never heard of him either.
Fucking hell.
Going to be honest.
Get off the podcast.
But Horns, it could be great, it could be terrible. It's one of I'm going to be honest, I just don't like Daniel Radcliffe very much.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just think he's a bit...
I really wish I did.
He comes across really badly in interviews as well, I think.
Yes, I agree. He comes across
and everybody loves him, of course, because he's part of that Harry Potter and part of a sort of British institution.
Yeah. And
so nobody says anything bad or really ever criticise anything he does. But I always go, him.
To me, he comes across as like... He seems like a nice sort of person, but it just seems like... He seems really sort of anxious and weird.
Yeah, he just never seems to be fully himself.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, a bit rambly and a bit
try-hardy.
Yeah.
He was an alcoholic.
Yeah, I've heard this.
During,
Harry Potter.
During some of the Harry Potter scenes. Not scenes, films.
And
I rewatched one of the scenes where apparently he was really drunk, and you can hear him slurring his words really badly. He was like 16.
But the thing is, it's not really my place to say, but what makes what makes an alcoholic? It seems sort of cool to be a songwriter or a musician or an actor, or especially youngish, and go, well, I have had my troubles in the past with substance abuse.
Yeah.
People go, oh, well, he's got over it, and he's now a mature adult actor. And you go, yeah, did he just like a bit of a drink?
Well, I reckon that...
Did he just have a lot of money and was young and went, I'm going to drink a lot, and then went, oh, I probably shouldn't do this anymore, it's making me feel a bit bad? and then stopped.
It's probably
he's not drinking special brew.
No.
Is he? I mean, that's a proper alcoholic. Like I'm not saying that doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. I'm saying that.
But you can still be an alcoholic and be rich.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you can't have abuse, like substance abuse issues, if you're rich. I'm saying that it's sort of he had a very clean slate of kind of I'm Harry Potter and I'm great, and then he got to a point where Harry Potter's over.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh well, I'm 20, however old he was then.
Yeah.
He had to then do the next 50 years of his life.
Well, he immediately did that stage play where he was naked with a horse.
Yeah, again, everyone loved it, but I thought it just looked dreadful. I didn't see it, so I can't really comment.
I don't watch plays.
No, I don't have the money to go. They're on telly. I'm not going to watch it. But I'm not saying he wasn't an alcoholic.
I'm
saying things like that get blown out of proportion. He goes, I had a couple of issues.
Yeah, but
you like to drink. You turned up drunk a couple of times. That doesn't make you a functioning, working alcoholic.
Well, what makes you an alcoholic though is I don't know, but I think it's probably if it encroaches on your life in some way, if it causes problems. So that's probably what it was. It's probably just causing problems.
Where does that line start? Where do you go from liking your drink and making a few fuck-ups to it encroaching on your life?
I'm not sure, actually.
Because if I go to a family party drunk and everyone goes, he's drunk,
then that is encroaching on
my life. I'm not an alcoholic, I'm just drunk.
Alright.
I just like
I've heard you say that a lot. A lot of times.
Where does that start?
I'm going to Google alcoholism.
And I'm not saying
see
that
if there's like a definition of.
I'm not saying that to be an addict you have to have 3 years of constant cocaine use, so you have to drink every day. But where I don't know where that line starts, and I feel like if you're 21, 22, there's very, very few occasions, and it does happen with some people like Jim Nortons and people like that, who often have just sort of shitty lives for a while.
Yeah. And what was that guy's name who was on the Joe Rogan podcast?
Mort or Mo or something. He was a Jewish stand-up, wasn't he?
He was really cool. But
Modge.
Yeah.
Modge.
Keep going. You're getting there. I don't know it.
It's something like that.
But he was one of those people who was anyway, carry on.
And you have people like that who have very addictive personalities from a very early age, fall into the wrong thing, and you're in rehab at 14 or whatever. But I feel like Daniel Radcliffe isn't this person at all, and I feel like this is blown massively out of proportion.
Well, do you want me to read out? First of all, I will say there's a difference apparently between alcohol dependence and alcohol abuse, and the alcohol abuse Wikipedia page is not as easy to read at a glance. So I'm just going to talk about alcohol dependence. But the DSM-4, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, I don't know, the thing they use to diagnose people with psychological disorders, says at least 3 out of these 7 criteria must be manifest during a 12-month period.
For a constant 12-month period, or once during the 12-month period?
I would have thought once during the 12-month period.
Okay, go.
Tolerance, what does that mean? So I guess you drink but you don't get drunk.
Yeah.
Withdrawal symptoms, use in larger amounts or longer periods than intended. Persistent desire.
Everybody does that.
Not really.
Isn't going to the pub to have one and then having 6? Yeah. Isn't that alcohol for a longer period and a longer amount than intended?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make me an alcoholic.
No, because that's only one of these things.
Yeah, okay, we're only on option 3. Tolerance, drink and not get drunk.
Yeah, I think that means
that happens.
That's probably
that you build up your tolerance to alcohol.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, I would have. Yeah, that's true though.
But if you drink every weekend, then you're gonna build up a tolerance.
You're starting to sound like an alcoholic to me. I think that means related to how tolerant you used to be. But then alcohol tolerance is a weird one because it depends on your diet at the time and all sorts of things. Like
if I don't drink and if I don't eat and I drink a bottle of scotch, I'm going to vomit everywhere and black out.
Yeah, but sometimes I can drink like 12 beers and be completely sober, and sometimes I can look at a beer and just slur my words. But I don't drink very much though, so I don't think I am an alcoholic.
No, I don't think you are either.
Persistent desire and successful efforts to cut down on alcohol use. Time is spent obtaining alcohol or recovering from effects. That means that literally is, have you bought alcohol?
Have I bought alcohol? Yes. Have I had a hangover and felt terrible about it? Yes.
Yeah, that one's stupid. Social, occupational and recreational pursuits are given up or reduced because of alcohol use.
Well, yeah. Everybody gets to an age where the go-to thing when meeting a friend is go for coffee, go for a drink. It's not, I'll meet you in the park. Oh,
yeah, but this is saying you, for example, arrange to see someone and then you can't because you're drunk. That's what this is saying. This is saying social, occupational, recreational pursuits are given up or reduced because of alcohol use.
But they're given up. Isn't that saying, like, I used to be such a active...
Yeah, it's like saying I've lost friends because of my drinking.
Yeah, no. If you don't have any hobbies to start with, it's...
If drinking is a hobby for you, Matt, then
it's not
alcoholism. You're trying to stop, you just can't. Yeah, and finally, use is continued despite knowledge of alcohol-related harm.
To yourself or in general?
Physical or psychological, so yeah, to yourself. So
to yourself. No, I'm not an alcoholic.
But that's literally everybody.
They're vague.
Again, that's like
can hit that.
Everyone will drink knowing that... In fact, it's irresponsible to not do that. It's irresponsible to not know the dangers.
Everybody knows the dangers of drinking.
Yeah.
Everybody. This is the same sort of conversation we were having a couple of TLDRs ago about smoking.
I think it's episode 1 or 2.
It's like everybody knows the dangers of it and yet continue to do it.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's not...
And everyone goes, oh, that's fine. And you sort of ostracise smokers. The cooler group.
I like how you do a ball funneling mime when you do that. That's quite weird.
I've taken some modafinil, so I'm getting quite into the...
Yeah. I took one of your modafinils.
Yeah.
But last night I only slept for 2 hours.
Oh, that was foolish.
And today I had like an hour nap that made me worse.
I had 6 till 2.
Nice one. Put it there. Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's good. But Daniel Radcliffe, he probably is a talented actor, but he just gets under my skin.
I think that in this, he looks like he's doing far better than he did in Harry Potter's. You didn't watch the last Harry Potter?
No.
He's strikingly not a good actor, in my opinion. I mean,
well, the thing is...
That is my opinion, but...
Can a child be an outstanding actor? For the most part, not really.
No.
If you put...
There are one or two, but one or two throughout history.
But even them, you're comparing them against other children. I never see an 11-year-old actor and go, well, you know, whoever the best actor in the world is, you know, DiCaprio, whoever it is.
No,
just go. I'm just picking a name.
Of course you are. Yeah, all right. Why are all these posters of DiCaprio?
There's no posters. Charlie Merrick World Cup.
I count a canvas as a poster.
He's not on it. You know, they're never going to be on the same level. Ever, I don't think.
Yeah, but then he grew up to be like 20 and, turns out I still can't act. But I remember watching the special features of the first Harry Potter.
Daniel Day-Lewis, he's good.
Well done.
Yes.
Nice one.
Thought about it for about 10 seconds and pulled a better name.
I will go for Seymour Hoffman, God rest his soul. See, that gets me clout as well, because he's
dead.
Well, you've got to whisper the word dead.
Drug addict. He's an addict.
He's not, he's dead.
An ex-addict, but he's definitely an addict.
But I was just going to say, I remember watching the special features to the first Harry Potter years ago when the second one hadn't come out yet. And it was Chris Columbus, the director, I think it was him, talking about how, we'd love to have these 3 actors for the whole thing. But obviously that's a pipe dream, that's not going to happen. And it did. And if they acknowledged at that point that that's an unrealistic expectation and people won't really mind if you swap out the actors, they should have fucking swapped out the actors, because they're all shit.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they weren't that bad, but...
Well, I've never seen anything with any of them that I've enjoyed.
No.
Because I've only seen 2 Harry Potter films.
I've literally only seen them in
I've never seen anything with Emma Watson in afterwards.
No, neither have I.
And Ginger Weasley fellow.
Rupert Grint.
He just stopped being in anything.
He's not. He was in...
actually, I saw him in Thunderpants.
I didn't watch that.
The film about farting.
Was that good?
Oh, yes.
It sounds good.
Good, because they fart a lot.
Yeah, I'll be watching that later on.
You'll love it.
He was in a pilot, Rupert Grint, for some TV series.
Not get picked up, what a surprise.
No, but I was drawn to it because Tyler Labine is in it, and he's in Reaper. And he's also in that new thing with Cat Dealey.
Oh, about
he
the
plays
weed
like a
smoking
ghost or something.
Ghost.
Or he can talk to ghosts.
Or he can talk to ghosts and smokes weed.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one.
Or ghosts are made of weed and he can
I only
talk
ever
to
hear it on adverts for podcasts.
Really?
Hulu, I think it's a Bill Burr's Monday Morning podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He does Hulu and he's like, with Hulu Original including, and he always says that. He's like, that sounds great.
But anyway, there was a pilot that Tyler Labine did and Rupert Grint starred in it. Stephen Fry was in it as the butler.
Right.
And Rupert Grint was doing an American accent. And it was fairly passable, but something about... So Daniel Radcliffe is doing an American accent in Horns.
Yeah.
Horns, sorry. And Rupert Grint did one in this TV series that didn't get picked up. And there's something about that either makes them the slightly better actor or hides the fact that they're not a great actor to me or something like that. But maybe it's not got anything to do with that. Maybe it's that they're older and more practiced. But either way, he does look like he's acting competently in this.
Yeah,
especially
but he doesn't look like a leading man.
He would if he was a bit taller.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's got the Tom Cruise problem.
Yeah.
Is that he's just short.
Yeah, but hang on a minute though. Hasn't Tom Cruise done pretty well?
Yeah, but only because he tailored it massively. So he's on...
Oh yeah, he did, yeah. He stands on like...
Interview
boxes.
with a Vampire.
Yeah. He's
on a moving trailer, standing next to Brad Pitt, so they're the same height.
Does he just sort of move his shoulders so it looks like he's walking?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because I don't know how tall Brad Pitt is, let's say 6 foot, 6'2". He's a sort of leading man height, and Tom Cruise is about 5'6", 5'7".
Speaking of Brad Pitt quickly, 1.8 metres by the way, what does that mean? No one knows. Speaking of Brad Pitt, there is a Fight Club 2 coming out, but it's a book, not a film.
It's a book, not a film?
I mean, the original Fight Club was a book.
Yeah.
And there's a sequel to the book coming out, and the writer, what's his name? Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah, Palahniuk.
He alluded to the idea that Tyler Durden is some sort of evil spirit that inhabits people's bodies, which sounds like it could either be awful or really cool.
Again, this is just... I feel like this is something that doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, but...
Fight Club is sort of universally very highly regarded. Everyone goes, Fight Club's great. Even people who have never seen it say it because that's what everybody else says. Yeah. It's one of those films that even if you've never seen it, you go, oh yeah, loved it. Great, isn't it? Or, yeah.
I think if I watched it now, I'd be let down. But I watched it years ago on like someone's vague recommendation I hadn't really heard, but I didn't even know there was a twist. And I was like, oh my god, blew my dick off.
Well, a lot of these films, those sort of mid-90s films...
1999, not mid-90s, no, thanks. Cheers. Thank you.
No, like your Sevens, your LA Confidentials, Usual Suspects, Fight Club. I remember watching all of those in the space of about 3 months.
What, back then or...?
No, but early 2000s, like... Yeah. So I could have been about 12.
Yeah.
And I remember going, oh, this is the best thing. I remember 7, the end of 7.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it now.
What's in the back?
Films are done now for me.
that's films done. Tick.
Oh, Kevin Spacey's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want to be in the credits or on the poster for that in case it gave away some... I can't remember. But yeah, I watched all them.
Oh, The Usual Suspects?
Yeah, The Usual Suspects.
That makes more sense. Because I don't know if he was in 7.
No.
I don't want to be in the poster for 7. Kevin, you're not in 7. Yeah, well, make sure I'm off the poster.
Well, American Beauty as well. That's another
brilliant.
one I watched.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
About 13, 14, 15, and I was like, these are brilliant.
Have I said to you before my observation that every film with the word American in the title is great?
Yeah, you have.
American History X.
Yeah,
American Pie
film.
4.
Yeah. And the original American Pie, though, brilliant.
Yeah.
American Hustle. You've seen American Hustle?
I haven't, but I'm sure it's great. I'm not even going to watch it.
Got a lot of
American Psycho.
American Psycho's good. I watched that film for the first time in years, about 4 months ago. It's still holds.
Great film. I've not watched it in quite a while.
It's on Broadway now, I think.
Yeah, and apparently...
So's Rocky.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
Is it not? Did they get rid of that?
Yeah, axed it. Because
like Spider-Man.
Sly isn't in it, so that's the only reason. Yeah, Spider-Man, yeah. But didn't that get axed because people
somebody died?
Yeah. Horns.
Yeah, it could be great, it could be shit. I don't like Daniel Radcliffe, so I'm going to give it 2 stars.
Out of 5?
Yeah.
You gave Hot Tub Time Machine 2 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
This is half a star worse.
Yeah. I prefer comedy, what can I say?
Rating movies just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It never will. You can't. Especially since the different genres are so different. I always think never read a review or pay attention to the scores of comedy or horror, because they're both so subjective.
Well, the thing is, enjoyment of media, of anything, is subjective, really. You can point out objective flaws in films or plots, but
things that work objectively in on an aesthetic sense, like things that are pleasing to the brain.
Yeah, like you can, but that's it.
Yeah.
Even plot, to a certain extent, you can pick out your holes in it, but other people just won't notice those holes or give a shit about them.
Yeah.
And so any kind of... It's the same with music, really.
Yeah, it is.
It's so subjective.
It's taste. It's massively subjective. I remember reading an article about taste written by a neuroscientist who was researching taste. And she was saying about how the first time you're exposed to a certain piece of music, for example, depending on what mood you happen to be in, can massively influence your opinion not only on that piece of music, but on the genre. And
that's why people sort of folk or that sort of sad indie music, a lot of people say, this is terrible and depressing. Yeah. But if you like you say, exposed to it when you're feeling great, or you're just boning a chick, and you're like, this is brilliant, I'm going to listen to more, I don't know, Fleet Foxes.
Is that folk?
I don't know. They're like
folk,
indie...
pop, fop. Fopdy.
Yeah. Fleet Foxes are quite good, though.
They're alright.
Melodic.
The thing about taste as well, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it was. But it was a great point.
It's all well made as well. Make up your own opinion, really.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. You can't... Since taste is not a rational thing at all, it always bothers me when people rationalise their tastes and get into these arguments about logic.
Yeah.
When they're talking about their tastes. Like, this is why... This is the objectively better Star Wars and stuff like that. And it's like...
Yeah.
Well, you can't... That's obviously after the fact. You've obviously decided these things after enjoying or not enjoying it. Because you're... The parts of your mind that like things and don't like things based on colours and sounds and shapes... Fan outside content assassinate us. Woo! Those parts of your mind aren't rational, so...
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. You can't... There's very little you can say objectively about any form of media.
Yeah.
Because...
Apart from, all music has drums. So that's objectively true. What? Name one.
Any... electronic dance music.
No, that's drums.
Yeah.
It does, it has drum sound effects.
But it's not drums though, is it? Sound effects.
Yeah, it's still drums though.
From the computer. It doesn't count.
Well...
We just have a computer.
Yeah, but it is drums. Did you know that a lot
If I just chime in like Samuel L. Jackson's voice, this podcast doesn't have Samuel L. Jackson on it. It has his voice chimed from the computer.
Yeah, but this is going to blow your fucking balls off.
Yeah, he's on next week.
He's on now. I'm in the green room.
Can hype that to the fans.
Did you know that a lot of scores, a lot of music scores for films, scores being a lot of those, the majority of them even, I'm talking out of my arse, I don't know if the majority, but a lot of them aren't done with orchestras, they're done on computers. Because nowadays you can...
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but nowadays you can have samples that are so versatile and realistic that they sound almost identical to an actual orchestra.
And it'll be cheaper.
Yeah, because you don't have to hire an orchestra.
Hire an orchestra, makes sense.
Thank you. Cheers.
Horns, 2 stars.
Alright, something fairly similar to horns. Tusk.
Yeah.
So we saw with horns, Daniel Radcliffe, for whatever reason, is entitled to his opinion, decided to grow horns on his head.
Right in the old...
For my money, that's a silly thing to do. You shouldn't do that. Justin Long in Tusk didn't decide to grow tusks, but his friend Michael Parks gave them to him.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Not quite the plot.
Right, next, isn't it? Oh, what have I missed? Shall we? How far back should we go? All right. Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
He was born.
Yeah.
And he grew up to be... I was going to do one of those jokes where we go too far back, but I can't be asked. Pretend I did. Laugh at it.
Kevin Smith is a filmmaker.
Yeah, and a podcaster.
Writer, podcaster.
He's sort of...
Weed smoker.
What he probably did, I would think, is he was browsing the internet and he thought, right, I'm going to watch some Team Fighting League. Type Team Fighting Championship, sorry.
Yeah.
Typed in TFC, which, by the way, all you need to do is put your finger on the T and then drag it down to C, and you've typed TFC.
Beautiful.
Try it. See. And they typed in TFC, accidentally found our podcast website. I thought, what's a podcast?
There's so much.
I'll try that. There's so many to choose from.
Ringside, Kalahari,
and then
Highside, Bedside, TLDR, Nutritious Teas.
And then he boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. Scott Mosier, and then Scott Mosier was like, yes. And then he said, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, yeah. And then they did a podcast, and then like episode 200 and something, Tusk.
Got blazed. Made up the idea for Tusk.
Yeah. Right, yeah, for people who don't know, Kevin Smith does podcasts. He used to do films.
He used to do films and sort of stopped doing films for a while.
Yeah. But then he got so high that he would come up with ideas for films and just have to do them because he's such a passionate kind of guy. And they did an episode of Smodcast, which I happen to remember is called The Walrus and the Carpenter.
I remember listening to it.
Episode 31B.
Don't think so.
No, it's not. It's in the 100 somewhere. And they were talking about a Gumtree advert. I remember when I was.
I saw this on Reddit.
When I was listening to it, I was playing Lego Batman.
Oh,
brilliant game, by the way. So good. The way he can just punch blocks. Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, they were looking at an advert that was on Gumtree for a guy in Brighton who wanted someone to room with him in his flat. But the advert said something like, I spent a lot of time on an island somewhere, stationed there because I was in the military or something like that, and I was alone. My only friend was a walrus, and I miss him.
Yeah.
So I want whoever comes to live with me on my flat in Brighton, you don't have to pay me, but you have to wear a walrus suit for a certain amount of time each day. And also, here's a recording of a walrus. You have to do this walrus sound. You're not allowed to speak. And if you do, I'll kick you out and stuff like that. So Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier, the hosts, started talking about how funny it would be if this happened. And, well, it turns out that the advert was fake, but to their knowledge, it was real at this point. And the guy who faked the advert, by the way, was a producer on Tusk.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, they started talking about, imagine a horror movie where this happens, and instead of getting them to wear a walrus suit, they turn him into a walrus.
Yeah.
And then they hired Justin Long. And so
Michael
can you
Parks.
do that? Yeah, Michael Parks. And Harland Osment?
Haley
Haley
I don't know how to say it. Kid from Artificial Intelligence.
Yeah.
Who isn't a kid anymore, he's sort of a fat man.
He looks a bit like Mac.
Yeah, he looks a bit doughy.
Yeah, he does look quite doughy.
Yeah, but...
He looks, Monkey Island 3.
Oh, we're going back now.
You know right at the end, where Guybrush gets turned into a child? He looks like that. Like, ew.
I'm aware of Monkey Island. The plot, story, gameplay.
Did you know, here's a little bit of film trivia before we get back onto Tusk. Monkey Island, the video game series about pirates, was going to be made into a movie in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
And it was going to be an animated movie made by Industrial Light and Magic, Lucasfilm's special effects company. But then they sort of went out of budget. So the writer of the Monkey Island movie, a few months later, sold a completely unrelated script to Disney called Pirates of the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And officially speaking, it's got nothing to do with it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but clearly it's the Monkey Island script, only with characters changed and names changed and stuff like that. And then, a few years ago, not too long ago, about 5 years ago, Ron Gilbert, who's the guy who made Monkey Island, on his blog, he mentioned in passing that he'd been influenced by a book called On Stranger Tides when he made Monkey Island. And then about 6 months later, Disney announced the new Pirates of the Caribbean film On Stranger Tides based on this book.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so Ron Gilbert always blogs about how much he hates the fact that Disney ripped him off and stuff like that, because clearly he'll be entitled to millions. Yeah. But yeah, Tusk.
This is the sort of exact opposite of Horns for me, because I like Kevin Smith.
I love Kevin Smith. One of my favourite people.
I like Justin Long. I didn't really know who Michael Parks was until Red State.
He's great though, isn't he?
Yeah, really.
Have
you
watched? What's it called? From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
He's in that.
Does he get killed very early on?
I think most people get killed in that film.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess yes.
Yeah.
I watched that again when I was about 11.
Dusk Till Dawn, yeah, another one of those films.
I watched that film.
It was great.
My dad made me watch that film because he was so excited for me to watch it, and he said, don't look into it, don't Google it or anything. So I watched it, and then spoilers, by the way, if you're going to watch it from Dusk Till Dawn. So I was watching it, and I didn't know that half an hour in or an hour in or whatever, it turns into a vampire movie.
Yeah.
And then Michael Parks makes a shotgun with a crucifix, and Selena Gomez, Salma Hayek is some sort of weird
she's
vampire lady.
Again, I've not seen it in like 5-10 years.
Yeah, it's really good. That
probably not 10 years. Probably about 5 years. Yeah, that's a really good film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tusk is sort of the exact opposite of Horns, because I like everybody in it. I listened to the podcast that the idea came from, and so I'm just sort of behind it in every way.
Yeah, me, yeah.
And so
also,
even if most people probably think it's shit, I'll probably go, oh, that was great.
Yeah,
loved it.
Yeah. I'm not going to have too much... I wouldn't... If I was a professional reviewer, which it could be, easily, I would have to not review this, because I've got too much invested in it, because I'm just behind it, even if it's bad. But luckily, it looks like it's going to be really, really good.
It does look really... It's like when Red State was announced, I thought...
Yeah, that was weird, because
he's going for something completely different here, and I don't know if this is a good idea.
Yeah, at that point...
And I avoided watching it for quite a long time, even though a lot of people said, oh, it's quite good, actually.
The way I see it, at that point in time, Kevin Smith was essentially like the proto-Judd Apatow. He sort of invented the bromance. He invented that genre of film where people stand around and talk about nothing. Well, Tarantino did sort of in the same year.
Yeah, in a different manner.
But in a very different way. And that was still influenced by cinema somewhat.
Yeah.
Whereas Kevin Smith's were more influenced by like radio and stuff like that, I guess. Or just his friends.
Yeah, comedy and radio. And, you know, Tarantino is a proper film nerd. He's a bit
spurgy.
He is. Like, if you went to school with him, you probably have stories about how weird he was.
Yeah.
He's but that's that kind of person.
That's where Kevin Smith got Michael Parks. Because obviously Tarantino was in Dusk Till Dawn. And apparently, Kevin Smith went round Tarantino's house one day, and he was just like, "Come here, watch this video." And he put in a VHS, and it was like,
I think I heard this,
it was like the best of Michael Parks that Quentin Tarantino himself had compiled.
Yeah.
So he'd sat down with like his big expensive editing machine and got loads of films and TV shows and stuff like that, obscure shit, and just edited together the best of this actor.
Tarantino,
just to show his friends. It's such a...
He's one of those people, like, you get it in a lot of industries. There'll be like one or two people that just absolutely complete... Not, you know, nerd is not the right real word, but proper buffs about everything.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, a couple of decades ago, say, when you had VHS tapes, they took up such a huge amount of space that people would have, like, rooms and...
libraries.
Like, this, you know, I'm going to do a wrestling thing here, but Jim Cornette, a famous guy, he just, you know, a loudmouth sort of southern wrestling promoter and manager and stuff, but he's famous for just growing up, got his first job in the industry at like 15, 16, and he's just been in it ever since. And in his house, he's got his video library. He just has everything. Just everything on video. And it's like, I think I'm a fan of something because I have, you know, 5 or 6 events. It's not even in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
And they're just ridiculously successful at what they do. So Tarantino, he's mental and weird, nerdy, and he's got a huge chin.
He's got a weirdly shaped head in general. But he's grown into it, though.
Yeah.
Looked especially weird when he was younger, and then for a while it looked okay, and then when he was about late 30s, early 40s, it looked terrible. And now he looks alright.
Yeah, now he just looks sort of middle-aged.
Yeah.
With a big chin.
Yeah, admittedly.
But yeah, he's a nerd. Great nerd, though. His films are great.
Yeah,
people sort of rag on him a bit, but
Well, people rag on him purely because people like his films so much, so people say he's overhyped.
Yeah, it is that whole kind of when something becomes very, very popular.
Yeah.
It becomes almost equally as popular to say that thing is terrible.
Just counterbalance it.
Yeah.
But to those people, I sort of want to say, have you ever watched Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Go and watch that. It's really good. It's not really good in like a really striking masterpiece sort of sense where you watch it and you go, oh my god. It's just really good in the sense that like, whoa, I didn't know people did things like this. Yeah, it's like such its own thing. And that's what Kevin Smith used to do with like Clerks and Mallrats and stuff like that. And then
it's very, very different.
And then he announced he was doing horror, and everyone was like, "What?
Oh no!"
With John Goodman in it. What?
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be
really good. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
And now he's doing Tusk.
I have a feeling Tusk will be, you know, just as good.
Yeah. And this is going to be the first in a trilogy, by the way.
Yeah, you told me about this the other day.
Yeah. Not a trilogy that's actually tied together, but a trilogy in the same sense as Edgar Wright's Cornetto
trilogy.
Like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
Will there be like little things that link them all together?
I would have thought so. In Tusk, in the trailer for Tusk, you see his daughter, Kevin Smith's daughter, and I believe Johnny Depp's daughter, weirdly.
Really?
Sort of talking in the store. She's the one who says, "Oh, it's a boot 2 hours from here." And just rudely makes
American
fun of
guys.
Yeah, that's his daughter. And I think they're going to be the stars of the next film, Yoga Hosers.
Really?
Yeah. Which I listened to the podcast where they came up with Yoga Hosers as well. And it was the first half of it, they were talking about Eric Cantona.
Really?
Yeah. Which is weird.
The seagulls, they smell the mackerel and they will follow.
Yeah. And then the reason they were talking about it is because this was just when Shia LaBeouf went mental.
Yeah.
And he said he did that. He did the seagulls will follow the mackerel thing, yeah. Like, and everyone was like, "Oh, Shia LaBeouf is all arty and stuff." And
stole it from
Eric Cantona said that, and it was in the fallout of like him having stolen the idea of his movie from that Ghost World film or the comic that was based on.
He's done a lot of that, hasn't he?
He did a lot of it in a short stretch,
space of time.
and everyone was like, "Oh, he used to be great in Even Stevens." Do you remember Even Stevens?
Have you seen Beans?
Oh yeah, he looks terrible.
He's 23.
He looks about 50. Yeah, he looks awful. Let's not talk about that. It makes me sad.
It's so bad. I used to love Beans.
But Shia LaBeouf, in Even Stevens was a comic genius.
It's one of the best shows.
Yeah, his performance in every episode blew me up. I admittedly was 9.
Yeah. But I loved it every single episode.
That was like I watched that and I had hope.
His timing was great.
Yeah,
great.
I had hope for like child actors and like.
And I think his sister was hot. I can't remember.
It wasn't his real sister. It was an actor. They just got someone in.
Yeah,
she wasn't that. She wasn't as hot as you remember her being. She was supposed to be hot, but she actually wasn't all that hot.
Was it just because
you probably would have thought she was really hot because the story implied it? She was fairly hot.
I have very low standards, so...
Oh, well, yeah, then.
What was her name in the...
Sister, wasn't it? Sister Stevens. Lauren, or something like that?
Christy Calso Romano.
What was her name, then?
Yep.
She had one.
Yeah. She is very old now.
How old is she?
Oh, no, she's not hot now. She's definitely not hot now.
How old is she?
30.
That's not that old.
It's really old.
How old is Shia LaBeouf?
I'm going to say...
Mid-20s, late 20s?
Yeah, 27.
Why did he stop doing comedy?
He is a bit mental.
Yeah, he's really mental. I think that's probably what happened.
Oh, she wasn't hot at all. What am I talking about?
Yeah, she wasn't hot.
Just a horrible...
I think that must be what happens when you get into that industry at an early age. It just sort of fucks you up.
Yeah, it's very difficult to sort of...
Which makes you go all
keep
mental.
Your head in the game.
That's why when I was a child actor, I did my Pilates every day to keep myself grounded to earth. Yeah.
Good work.
Thank you. So yeah, Tusk. What are you giving that? What are you giving Tusk?
I'm going to give it 4.
Oh, hang on. I forgot to say, the third in the trilogy, by the way.
What's Yoga Hosens about?
Yoga Hosers. It was a news story that they read out on Smartcast where a sort of hippie in Canada.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Yoga Hosers, because he did yoga. And he's a hoser, because he's Canadian. He'd like accidentally come into some stolen art, and he seemed like quite a character when they read out his interview. Yeah. So they're like, let's make a movie. I like that.
Must be great to have that kind of money, resources and skill.
Definitely.
Just go, should we do that?
And then the third one is going to be Jaws with a Moose, is how he describes it. But I listened to that podcast really, I feel like the other day, and now all of a sudden it's a movie. And when I listened to it, I was thinking, he was saying, oh, we're going to make this movie and stuff like that. Or like, I would love to make this movie, this would be a great movie.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it didn't click in my mind. Like, oh yeah, I've done this twice before very recently, this is realistic. I was just thinking, oh, that's a pipe dream, that's never going to happen. But obviously it did like a week later.
Sit down, Kev. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you're never going to make movies.
Yeah. Stop believing in yourself, you piece of shit.
Boo.
Have you read Kevin Smith's book, Life Advice?
No, I have it on audiobook on my iPod, which is over there.
I listened to the audiobook version. It was good.
Was it good? Does he read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Kevin Smith. I've realised I probably hear his and Rogan's voice more than any member of my own family.
Yeah, I'm definitely with me. Definitely.
Which is sort of weird.
Yeah.
You sort of almost develop not a relationship, but you just understand like their characteristics and their personality, and you're just like, yeah.
That's why. Do you remember like a year ago? The guy who did Giant Bomb podcasts, Ryan Davis.
Yeah.
He died, and it like really affected me because I'd heard him more than like loads of people that I know well.
It's weird, isn't it, when you think about it like that?
People probably feel that way about us.
Well, we're on 3 hours a week every week, so we're better than your mother. I don't know why I pointed at the microphone there like someone would see.
I saw it.
That's all that matters, really, at the end of the day.
The next thing is the TV series Gotham, which is
aren't they
based on Batman.
Flogging the horse a little bit? I'm not saying the horse is dead, but I'm saying they're just going a bit hard
on Batman
very quickly on well, you know, superheroes as a whole, but especially Batman, because I have no background in any comics whatsoever.
No,
I've never read any Marvel, DC, I've never read any of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've read like one graphic novel.
What was it?
Watchmen.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, quite long.
Yeah.
So I don't get, and I know there's loads and it can come from, then there's so many possible stories, but all of a sudden in the past, like, 5, 10, I know we've done Batman a million times in the past, but now we're just going, and now they're all here and the Avengers, and now we'll do 8 of this, and then we'll have him versus him, and then, this guy can have his own movie. And aren't you, especially with Batman, this is probably not linked to it at all, to the whole Marvel whatever, but aren't you saturating... Well, who cares? Aren't you saturating the
market?
Yeah, the market and almost the product itself by just going and going and going, because
like people are going to get bored of it.
80s and 90s Batman, whenever it was, is very, very different to the 3 we've just seen.
Like Tim Burton Batman.
Yeah. But now there's not going to be a striking difference between the one. When was the first one? 2005, 2006.
Yeah, 5.
And whatever it saturates into. I know they're doing a Superman one, and there's so much of it now.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think there is.
If you make so many of the same sort of film, isn't there going to be a point where you forget how good 1 or 2 were because it's just one on all the time? You're sort of saturating what's great.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like possibly. A TV sitcom. If you have 3 good seasons and 3 shit seasons, people are going to forget how good the first 3 were.
Yeah.
Because the last 3 were terrible.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think let's talk about Batman versus Superman here as well, because it fits.
Put them all in.
But I think this new Batman in the Batman vs Superman is going to be strikingly different to the Christian Bale Batman.
Well, it's Affleck, isn't it?
Yeah, but not only because of that, but I think that it's...
And he's got a new suit.
Yeah. I think it's based fairly loosely, or fairly closely, I don't know. Based a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Unofficially, let's say, on Frank Miller's Batman from The Dark Knight.
And isn't this the thing that Batman as a character, and a lot of Superman, whoever, all these characters have been done so many times with so many different spins by different authors.
Yeah.
This is only my grasping, I don't know this for sure.
Yeah.
And so you're taking one author's view for a certain series and one author, and I understand that, but shouldn't we now... When was Dark Knight Rises? Like a year ago?
It was
shouldn't we
2012, was it?
I don't know. Shouldn't we have a period where we can not forget about it, but move on?
Yeah, let it.
Because we're already... And I know this probably won't come out till, 2015, and it'll be 2, 3, 4 years. And you'll go, well, that is enough time. Yeah. But it's not really, because it's in Comic-Con now. It was announced last year.
And you're going to see images.
And so it's constantly going. And so you never really have a full stop.
Yeah.
You never have, well, this is the end of the Bale and the... Whoever did it. Nolan and Zimmer and all, whoever did it.
Zimmer was pretty involved.
He did the music, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they're here. We have the Burton here. We have Adam West over here.
Yeah, all the way over there.
You don't have that space.
Yeah.
And surely you need that if you're going to redo the character again and redo the character again.
It is cutting it quite close with the whole Bale thing. And I even think it's probably set in the same sort of universe as that. But if it is based on the Frank Miller one, then it's probably based slightly in the future or something like that. Because in the Frank Miller one, The Dark Knight Returns,
yeah,
which you can also watch as a feature-length cartoon, which is brilliant. It's got... What's the guy's name who played RoboCop? But he plays Batman anyway, and he's got like a really deep voice. Like, Batman. And he's like 50 or so years old, and he's built in like a brick shit house. He's like really...
Yeah.
And he's very broad, he's got tiny ears, and a big fat bat logo.
That's cool.
As opposed to... Because all the renditions of Batman you usually see is like in his prime and stuff like that. But here is all...
Aging
and shit. And
that's cool.
I think that's what they're going for with this Batman.
And that's sort of... from what I gather, that's the cooler thing about you sort of... You
he also kills, by the way, this other Batman in the Frank Miller one.
Really?
He's stopped the whole, don't kill people.
Yeah, he just fucks people.
Spoilers, he kills the Joker, stabs him in the eye with a knife.
Brilliant.
And then Joker's walking around with a knife in his eye. It's quite dark.
That does sound quite dark.
Yeah. Heath Ledger's already dead, so don't have to do that. Taken care of.
Done. He did it himself.
Tick. Yeah.
He didn't stab himself in the eye.
Could have done. Could have fell onto something eye first.
Whoa. But nobody's comparing... Well, you are, but not seriously. Nobody's comparing Tim Burton and Nolan and... but they're not doing that. Whereas
but you're
this
definitely
comes
going to
out,
compare this to Bale and Nolan.
You're definitely going to do it. And I feel like you're not giving it enough time for people to look back on this as a trilogy and go, that was great, that was really good. Enjoyed that, and that's the general consensus that everybody liked it.
Yeah.
The third one is probably
hang on though, maybe that's not what they intended for. Maybe they are intending this to be the fourth in that series, even though Nolan isn't involved.
Yeah.
I think it's Zack Snyder who's doing this, Batman vs Superman. But maybe that because the Man of Steel film that came out fairly contemporaneously with the Dark Knight what is it?
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
I've not seen Man of Steel. I don't watch a lot of superhero movies, I'm going to be honest. So I don't know if it's going to be any good.
No.
It probably will be, and it'll make a huge amount of money because it's Batman and Superman. But
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely go and watch it or illegally download it online.
That's what I'm going to do.
But I feel like they're playing a dangerous game with just the pure amount of superhero movies they're putting out now. Not even just Batman, not even just Superman. The whole amount that they're doing. You're putting out 2 or 3 a year if you include all of the different ones. I don't know, different companies do different ones and you can't help that. But you're risking people just... I couldn't tell you the plot of Batman Forever. Is that the first one?
No. That was like the third one, I think. Batman? Yeah, Batman. 1989, Batman.
Like, who knows?
I watched that, by the way, not too long ago.
Hold up.
The first... really bad. But then I watched the one with Jim Carrey in it. Yeah. It's universally regarded as a terrible film. Mm-hmm. But the first time I watched it, I was about 4.
Yeah.
And I would give that a 10 out of 10. Purely because I watched it when I was so young. And
memories,
so much nostalgia. It's just great. Tommy Lee Jones, isn't it?
Tommy Lee Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, he plays Two-Face. But he clearly didn't know what the character was supposed to be, so he just played him as sort of the Joker.
Yeah.
And Joel Schumacher was like, yeah, you can do that.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. Wear some neon, because it's the 90s.
Yeah.
And then Schwarzenegger was in one of them, and Clooney played Batman.
I remember Clooney playing, but he said it's the biggest regret of his career.
Did he?
Just because he wasn't very good at it. And he's like,
I can't remember it. I can't picture him as Batman at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I've even seen it.
I'm sure that I've seen it, but I just can't put it in my mind. But people...
But even within recent years, like, remember the Avengers?
Yeah.
Remember the huge hype and I mean, it was... I remember I went to see it.
Yeah.
Was it great? Probably, but I don't remember because there's now so many other things constantly coming out and constantly... You're not giving them enough time to go, oh, that was great. Remember this? That was good. Now
that's the whole thing. But
that's Hollywood. I suppose they're going to constantly ship things out because it's in right now, and you want to make money.
They're also, I think, they're also doing it on purpose as a parallel to comics, because comics have traditionally been something that comes out serially without any sort of break, and I think they're trying to do that with movies now because Marvel did it. They serialized the Avengers movies, not the Avengers movies, but the pre-Avengers movies. So there was like Thor and Iron Man and stuff like that.
Captain America.
And that's now what DC are doing with this Superman versus Batman. The subtitles are going to be like Dawn of Justice, something like that. Wonder Woman's going to be in it, by the way. And she's wearing like a toned down version of the Wonder Woman costume, obviously.
But then is that going to lead to a Justice League movie? Who's in the Justice League?
Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. Who else? I doubt Ryan Reynolds is going to be there as Green Lantern, though.
Didn't pull that off.
I'm going to Google it, Justice League. I don't really know much about the Justice League, or the Justice League of America, as it's called.
Ryan Reynolds, I thought his career was buried after that film.
Did he come back?
But I saw him in something, and it may actually be called Buried.
Aquaman and the Flash, that's what else, isn't it? And then various other people.
Where the whole film, well, not the whole film, but 90% of the film was him in a box or a coffin.
Oh, really?
And it was actually really good. He did a really good job of it. And I was like, oh, that's surprisingly really impressive.
What else has Ryan Reynolds been in recently? He was in something else, wasn't he?
Let me tell you.
Please do.
2014, he was in The Captive, The Voices, A Million Days to Die in the West. Ripped, Turbo, The Croods, Ted, Safe House, The Change-Up, Green Lantern, Buried, there it is. Paperman, The Proposal, Adventureland. Nothing really I give a shit about.
Yeah, I doubt he's going to be in the Justice League film. And if Green Lantern's in it, it's probably going to be somebody else. Because that was probably... I think the Justice League... I think the Green Lantern movie is to the future Justice League movie what the Hulk movie was to the Avengers movie. Not only because they're both green, but also because they both came out...
very original Hulk movie.
By Ang Lee. With...
Eric Bana.
Yeah, Eric Bana.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I compare them is that I think that they both came out at a time when the studio hadn't even had the idea yet to do an Avengers movie or just a movie.
It just was because it's there. We can make it.
And they turned their own thing and really campy and weird.
Yeah, although I quite enjoyed the Hulk film. But
I did
as well,
but it got loads of shit. Yeah, it came out 11 years ago. 2003.
You know.
And Mark Ruffalo owned it. Edward Norton owned it first. Do you remember that Edward Norton Hulk film?
Yeah, vaguely.
That was weird because he wasn't in the Avengers. Yeah. So it seems completely unrelated to the Avengers, but I think story-wise I think it's supposed to lead into it. I'm not sure.
Well, we'll see where it goes, I suppose.
Another interesting thing, I was thinking this when I was in Costa Coffee earlier on. The parallel between DC and Marvel is really interesting because it indicates these practices that people just don't find acceptable anymore. Imagine if what's an original movie coming out? Tusk. Imagine if next year someone released a movie where someone gets turned into a seal.
Yeah.
You'd say, well, that's clearly a rip-off of Tusk. Yeah. But then with comics, with Marvel and DC, they would just rip each other off all the time, and it was sort of acceptable.
Yeah.
So you have like Iron Man, who's a rip-off of Batman, essentially.
Yeah.
Because he's like a billionaire philanthropist who goes into his basement with his posh English butler and makes his own suit and stuff like that. Yeah. And so the Justice League and the Avengers, I don't know which came first, and people are going to call me out on being wrong about all this, but the Justice League and the Avengers are sort of clear parallels of one another, and you've got, even down to the character archetypes, you've got a few of the same sort of things, and it's this really interesting thing where, because they're based on franchises that are decades and decades and decades old, nobody questions it, but it's very obvious that they're doing the same exact thing. And it's interesting. I like it though, because you see the same thing twice. You see different takes on the same idea twice.
And it is, if you look at the whole Batman versus Iron Man, for instance, they're very differently done.
Yeah, very differently done. Yeah, they're fundamentally similar, but they're very different. Which
is probably a pointed decision.
Yeah.
I feel like my knowledge of comic books and all this is so minute that people are going to hate me forever.
It's weird what's happened here, because do you remember, like, about 10 years ago?
You kicked the shit out of somebody for saying they read a comic book.
Yeah. And now it's completely the other way around.
Because the Beano's funny.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Or Viz. The only comic you're allowed to read is Viz.
Ladies.
And now it's completely the opposite.
I'm reading the new Green Lantern. I would have smashed your glasses on the floor.
Yeah. I don't wear glasses, by the way. I'm not a nerd. Listener.
Thank God.
Yeah, phew. If I did, I wouldn't wear them.
It's very in. It's the whole nerd culture.
Yeah. Air quotes.
Being a nerd is in, but it's not
massively
being a nerd. I remember...
It's not really being a nerd, it's just liking pop culture, which you're supposed to, because they...
That's the point of it, really.
They hire advertisers to make you.
I remember Jim Jeffries was on the Nerdist podcast.
Yeah, Nerdist.
And he was just like, what the fuck is this? None of you people are nerds, you're just successful people. He's like, oh, you like everything that's popular. That doesn't make you a nerd at all. They're like, no, we are nerds. We are basically doing the exact opposite of what people have done historically in American films forever, of pretending not to be nerds.
Yeah.
Oh no, we are. We like comic books at school when nobody else did, and Jim Jeffries was like, well, I collect pinball machines.
Yeah.
Who's the real nerd here? You fuckers.
I remember noticing, like, around circa 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
When we were in, let's say, high school, sixth form.
Yeah.
I remember noticing a lot of girls would pretend to be into nerdy things to make themselves seem more attractive to the popular guys who were, at that point, nerds, because that was what was coming up now. Not real nerds, but people who...
Yeah, they're not... You're not molecular scientists. You're not people... who are riddled with Asperger's, sitting in basements.
No, you're just like a quite handsome person.
Nobody's coding here. You just say, well, I watched The Avengers and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make you a
nerd. I remember seeing, and this probably still goes on a lot, I would have thought, and I'm not being sexist by calling out women, because men probably do it as well, but I remember seeing, at that point, a lot of girls saying things like, oh, yeah, I really like Star Wars. Which is your favourite? All of them.
All of them, yeah.
I just like Obi-Wan...
Jar Jar
Kenobi. Jar Jar, love him. He's my favourite Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's like...
things like that. Yeah, because when was the last Star Wars film? It was the Sith one, wasn't it? When was that?
2005, maybe?
I mean, at that point we were like 13.
Yeah.
So, to college, that's a long period of time.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly just... like, it's always been popular, it always will be popular, but that whole being a nerd thing came in very, very quickly, it seemed to me.
Yeah,
and so everyone just suddenly went, oh, I do really love it, by the way. I know I've not mentioned it in a long time, but I have always loved it, I've always loved it. So.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with jumping on a bandwagon, really. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
No, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, but you have to sort of accept it, really.
For what it is.
Yeah, and just say, well, everyone seems to be talking about it, and I think it's alright.
There's nothing wrong with that, because it's nice, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, that's how life works.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen all the Star Wars, I think they're alright. I don't love them.
No.
The first lot I like a bit more.
Than the prequels.
Yeah.
But it's quite cool to hate the prequels, so you should probably be hating them.
Oh, I mean, I hate them.
Yeah, same.
No, I mean, like, they're all alright. I remember watching the newer ones, the prequels.
Yeah, the prequels.
When I was a kid, probably when they came out. I thought they were quite cool. I felt they went on a bit.
Yeah.
And I've not seen them since, so I can't really comment on them. But Jar Jar Binks, isn't that just the worst thing that's ever happened?
No, because I was 9 when that came out, and I had one of those little Jar Jar toys with freshy tongues.
And it stuck to things. Yeah. I had one of them, it went filthy in about 3 days.
Pisses me off to see people our age hating on, like, Star Wars Phantom Menace and stuff like that, because I'm thinking there's quite a high likelihood that you're just selling your childhood down the river.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretending you don't like one of the things that probably you really liked when you were 9, just to seem cool now.
And the thing is, you can watch something, have an opinion on it, and watch it at a later date and change that opinion. But I feel like not many people do that at all.
Again, it's like I was saying earlier. You can't really rationalise your tastes.
No,
you can't help if you like or dislike something. But I'm excited for the new Star Wars movies, though. Star Wars Episode 7, 8 and 9.
And that's such a popular opinion. That's a widespread opinion.
What, to be excited for them?
We're going, woo, Star Wars.
I'm very excited.
When I go, I'll probably watch it, but, I'm not counting down the days. Most people go, why not?
Yeah.
Go, well, I'm no more excited than I am about anything else, but it'll come out and I'll watch it and it'll be great. Or it'll be shit. But
even if you're not into Star Wars, it's going to be a huge cultural thing. So that's
it'll make such a huge amount of money. I'm not saying I'm not excited. I'm just saying, well, it'll come out and I'll watch it.
Yeah.
In the same way that I've watched all the other ones.
Yeah.
I'll probably enjoy it.
I think there are talks about other Star Wars films coming out as well. Like there's going to be.
They have individual character ones. Haven't
they? Like a Yoda film.
Somebody signed on to do one of those. Might be Zack Snyder actually. Yeah,
I would have thought.
And I think guy who did Godzilla. And I think the guy from Nuneaton.
Ken Loach?
No.
What guy from Nuneaton?
There's a director from Nuneaton.
Gaz Jenkins?
No, sadly not. That'll be my meal ticket.
That's going to be funny to literally Gaz Jenkins. Nobody else. Oh, little old Nuneaton, home of TFC podcast and George Eliot.
Yes. Gareth Edwards.
Didn't he direct an episode of EastEnders or something weird like that?
He
did.
did.
To Kegs?
He did Godzilla.
He did Godzilla and he's from Nuneaton?
Yeah.
This has gone so over my head. Are you sure?
Yeah.
What?
He was born 1975 in Nuneaton, Warwickshire.
Whereabouts in Nuneaton? Do I know him?
Like I imagine he stayed here for a while and then left. He did.
Good plan.
Yeah, he's untitled Star Wars standalone film. He signed on to do it. So a guy from our hometown in 2016.
That's fucking weird.
He did Factory Farm, which I've never heard of. Monsters, which everybody loved, but I've never seen. It was like his first feature film, and it was sort of like a British hit. It was a British independent science fiction film.
That's weird. I didn't know that at all.
And then he got given Godzilla.
Out of nowhere. Now he's been given fucking Star Wars.
Yep.
That's crazy. Do you reckon that'll actually go through? Because changes happen. And especially since that film hasn't got a title.
In May 2014 it was announced he would work on the first Star Wars standalone film. So the first one with writer Gary Whitta.
Gary Whitta?
Yeah.
He used to write for PC Gamer.
Due to be released 16th of December 2016 and will direct 2 more Godzilla films. So he's done well for himself.
Gary Whitta also wrote the Book of Eli, and I'm doing all this off the cuff.
Yeah, you are.
But you can tell me if I'm right. And he wrote an episode of the Walking Dead video game, the best video game that's ever been made. Now he's writing a Star Wars film.
He did write for PC Gamer.
He was the podcast that Ryan Davis did, the dead guy I was talking about earlier, Giant Bomb podcast. He would always guest on that because they were just all friends.
Yeah. Says it here on his Wikipedia.
Yeah, because he's like a games journalist. And then one day he thought, might write a screenplay, and then got into Hollywood, and now he's got Star Wars. He's English as well. A lot of English people getting Star Wars scripts.
So a guy from our hometown made a film that made $500 million at the box office, and he's going to do a Star Wars film. But he's not on TLDR, is he?
We'll get him on. We'll get him on.
Yeah. We'll say, come back to Sunny Nunny.
Yeah. Email him.
I'll get right to
Write that down. We'll get him on. He can be a guest. I'm saying that with a lot of conviction. It's not going to happen.
So, Batman vs Superman, it probably will be very good. I mean, I like the Batman films. I've not seen any of the Superman films, yeah.
The thing about the Nolan Batman films is that they
weren't... But they didn't blow me away. I never had them as, like, my film of the year. I never thought they were, like, incredible.
I
thought, that's good. That's really enjoyable.
Hang on, let me check this. I'm going to look at...
I was caught in the loop for Dark Knight, is that I think I was either away or I didn't bother for months.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time I got around to seeing it, 5-6 months later, everyone had gone, well, this is the best film you'll ever see.
It's number 4 on IMDb's top 250, after The Godfather 1 and 2 and Shawshank Redemption, and just ahead of Pulp Fiction.
question, is that because Heath Ledger died? If he didn't die, if he's alive right now, and we don't have the whole, well, he was so into the mindset of the character.
Yeah.
He was basically the character.
That's why he died, because he took sleeping pills to be more jokery. Apparently, that's what I've heard. That sounds a bit romantic.
Yeah, that's a nice notion, isn't it? It's not that he OD'd.
But to be fair, though, to him...
I'm not saying he's a drug addict or he's a shit dog.
No.
I'm just saying that it's now very nice that we go Heath Ledger in that last performance, and it was the performance that basically killed him, and he got that Oscar and it's all lovely and it all tied together.
It did basically kill him, though, because he isolated himself in his hotel room for like months before. He didn't speak to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't speak to another human being, and it made him fucking mental, and he had to take sleeping pills and he died. But to be completely fair, I know that you have to be careful about romanticising the dead and stuff like that, and overblowing people.
Well, people do it forever, and it'll happen forever.
Of course. I mean, it's human nature.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that was an amazing performance.
Yeah, I know.
It's like Philip Seymour Hoffman died recently, and you can't overstate how good he is, even when he was alive. Like,
no, there's no questioning his acting ability, and the whole Joker performance was universally regarded as excellent.
It was no 10 Things I Hate About You. It was no A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale is one of my favourite films ever.
It's one of my favourite films ever as well. Some people don't like that film. A lot of people like genuinely hate it. Stupid. I love that film.
Such a good film.
But watch it later.
But if he's not dead and he goes up and collects that Oscar, and he goes, I did get caught up in the character a little bit, but I'm fine now, so don't worry.
Good day, guys.
Yeah, if he's now doing whatever film he's doing.
Probably Batman 3.
Yeah, well, the performance...
It probably would have been.
Yeah, the performance sort of... Wasn't he supposed to be in the dark? Wasn't he come out of prison?
I'm not sure, but I
thought in the original plans were when Bane frees all the criminals.
Yeah.
They'll show him coming out. And reaping a bit, maybe.
Coming out of like Arkham or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But, what I'm saying is, it's like if Bob Marley was still alive now, he'd be selling old Jamaican ginger beer because he'd be old. He needs to pay the bills.
I've always heard that thing about, like, imagine Kurt Cobain alive now, what would he be doing? X Factor.
Yeah.
He'd be a judge.
He'll be sort of hanging around with Dave Grohl. He'll be in Foo Fighters or something.
Foo Fighters wouldn't exist.
Yeah. It's like...
Dave Grohl would be nobody.
Dave Grohl would be... He thanks his lucky stars every day and shoves his head off.
Yeah. The bane of being Dave Grohl is that everyone thinks that all of the songs he's written are about Kurt Cobain.
Oh, is this about Kurt?
Which must follow him. He's openly written one song about Kurt Cobain.
Which one?
Let me just Google that for you.
But that's the thing, eventually you're going to have to start paying bills. Snoop Dogg is a prime example of it. Snoop Dogg went from being a literal pimp to just pimping himself out.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg was?
Yeah. He got away with it, whether he did or not, who knows. He was about as proper gangster as he could be for a while. And then became a rapper, played up to that for a long time, and now...
Now it's Snoop Dogg. Now he's just... You can't compare...
Yeah, he's a figure, and he'll just sell anything, and he's everywhere, and everybody loves him.
But to be fair, though...
And it's business sense. It makes sense, because he's now set for life, and he can do whatever he wants.
To be fair, when it comes to people like Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent...
I'm not knocking him for doing it.
They've escaped, like, the ghetto. They've escaped something that is
absolutely.
Really... And when I say the ghetto, I'm not being ironically cool. I'm invoking, like, a Holocaust and shit. It's that bad, I imagine. I'm not from a place like that. I'm from the hometown of a Star Wars writer. So I don't know.
Well, but, if you tell, Dr. Dre, when he's starting out, when NWA are all on the scene, if you say to Ice Cube you're going to be in, family movies in 15 years' time, you'd laugh at you.
Say to Flavor Flav you're going to have a reality TV show where people date you. And what happened? Do you remember that? He had a reality TV show.
Yeah, vaguely.
I can't remember exactly what happened.
He went broke, didn't he? And it was all a bit of a nightmare. But I mean, these people that are almost put on a pedestal above a pedestal, because pop stars are on pedestals anyway, but dead pop stars, and even movie stars to a certain extent, are put on that, if Bob was here, he'd be revolutionising the world. And John Lennon, he'll be going mental over this Gaza situation. Well, he'll be 70 and he'll just be sitting at home occasionally coming out and playing a song.
I mean, Paul McCartney lived on, and I don't know if you've heard Paul McCartney's latest song.
He's done another song.
Dog shit.
Really?
It's about he's a sort of half-assed vegetarian, and that he's a vegetarian on Mondays, and he's got a song. It's literally he's got a song released recently that goes, "Meat-free Monday, it's a fun day."
Friday.
Yeah.
Gotta get down.
Fucking Beatle. I mean, they should all have died on a plane. Well, that's what you should. That's what we should do. TFC. Actually, wait a minute. See, from the perspective of a couple of rock stars like us, I'd much rather sell out and live forever and have a yacht.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I don't want to die young. I don't want to die at 27.
It's not even selling out. It's like you're not going to have that influence. You know, your Bob Marleys, your Kurt Cobains, they're everywhere. In that kind of, well, they were different. They were, cutting edge.
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix as well.
But yeah,
he's got a biopic coming out with Andre
3000. Yeah, and eventually these people are just going to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
Don't know where that really came from.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Yes. Would that performance? Because people say that's the best performance ever, and I'm not going to sit here and say it was shit and I can do it better. It was incredible, but
it was one of the best Jokers ever. But
it probably was I don't know any other Jokers to compare.
Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker, is a contender for the best Joker, but a lot of people don't know that he plays the Joker because people do now probably, but he does the voice of the Joker in the 90s cartoon series and in the video games.
Really?
Not recently, and he's really
still working.
Good. Yeah. I mean, he's Luke, the next Star Wars film. He's growing his beard out for it.
He must be old as shit.
He is. He's older now than Alec Guinness was when he played Obi-Wan.
Fuck off, really.
He doesn't look as old.
That's cool.
But he looks pretty gnarly with a G. Yeah. With his beard.
Did you see the picture of him about a year ago picking cigarette ends out of an ashtray?
Yeah. He can do what he wants. He's 60-odd. Late 60s.
He just looked terrible. It was one of those just awkward paparazzi shots.
Yeah.
Where he probably said, I really want a cigarette.
They've made him lose a lot of weight and stuff like that. They put him on the fat camps.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? I heard about that.
I don't know how Carrie Fisher's doing though, because she got pretty rotund.
Well, she's a very, very rich woman.
She's also like bipolar.
Oh, who isn't these days?
No, that's true.
We love to give ourselves labels.
Since we're so far along in the podcast, I'm probably going to skip a few of these. I'm just going to reel off a few of these trailers we watched, and you say which one you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Air TV series. No,
I didn't really see what happened in that. They had no air. Don't really care.
Hunger Games, probably not.
Never seen any Hunger Games, so.
The Mike Tyson TV series.
It'll be a huge hit for Adult Swim. It's sad, really, for Mike Tyson.
Sort of.
Well, the Mike Tyson.
I think he's in on the joke.
Oh, yeah, he's in on it, but Mike Tyson is a guy that came from a very, very shitty place. Stopped going to school at 7.
Yeah.
He became the youngest world heavyweight champion.
At 8.
And was 19 years old. He was heavyweight champion of the world. And he was a killer, like a legit. There's never been a box office draw like Mike Tyson. He was a killer. Even when I started watching boxing, about 8-9 years into his vicious career, he was the biggest star on the planet. There's been nothing like him.
Has he got a grill?
And that, no.
Oh, no.
You know, that grill was offered to Hulk Hogan and he turned it down for a pasta making machine. Pasta Mania.
Pasta Mania. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Quickly go on Amazon.
Hulk Hogan Pasta Mania. But
yeah, Mike Tyson cartoon series where he follows around a pigeon.
And I mean, Mike Tyson is in on the joke now, and he is, he's had years of drug abuse, marital abuse, went to prison for rape. Whether he did it or not, who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of debate around that.
He did the whole coke thing, he had got the face tattoo, and he's become a caricature of himself.
Yeah.
And he got off the drugs and now he's a vegan, and he converted to Islam for a while.
Do you know why? Loads of concussions.
Well, yeah, because you get punched in the head, and he's a prime example for... Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Arguably, the most well-known boxer of all time, probably, maybe 15, 20 years ago. Figure, cultural figure, everything. The fastest talker. He started the whole promo thing in boxing. Sold fights. He
played physical perfection
played
for
the bad
most
guy
of his life.
Yeah, the baddest man on the planet. He had maybe 2 or 3 fights too many in the sort of 80s. where he got knocked out, and people say that's what made him what he is today. He's just sort of quivering, Parkinson's-ridden wreck. Yeah. And they used to.
I mean, it is also age, you know.
Well, it is age as well, but you think even boxing now, they only do 12 rounds, and if you get like concussed, knocked out, if you can't, they're going to call it off immediately. Yeah. Then they say you would fight 15 rounds.
Really?
You'd fight 15. Like Muhammad Ali, one of the most famous fights, Ali Frazier, Rumble in the Jungle.
Is that the one that Truman wrote about?
Yeah, possibly. And they both.
Not Truman. Hunter S. Thompson.
I don't know.
I'm talking about the President Truman.
I didn't know you were talking about this. Okay. At the beginning of the last round, one of them couldn't see, and one of them could barely stand up. Yeah. And I think one of them quit on the stool, and it's just like you wouldn't have that anymore if you can't see. You're not gonna.
But I mean, people not anymore, but go back about 10 years, and people thought that UFC was far too violent to be allowed. And
John McCain came out, and it's still banned in New York City. He said it's barbaric. It's it's bear baiting. That's his sort of.
But compare it to.
And they brought in rules. You can't kick heads, all that shit, and much less. But you get injuries. Of course, you get injuries. Yeah. But nobody dies. No. A couple of people die boxing every year.
Really?
Yeah. I think more people die playing boxing, fighting, and playing rugby than they do in any kind of mixed martial arts. Because the thing about rugby is it's neck impacting. So you can take a scrum, if you take it in the wrong way, and 10, 15 stone men just fall on your neck, you're going to break your neck.
Apparently, anywhere getting an impact on the body, anywhere above the heart can concuss you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dangerous. But Mike Tyson had one too many of them.
A few too many, man. He
famously fought on for a long time because he lost a lot of his money. Yeah. I remember the first big pay-per-view I watched was Tyson versus Lennox Lewis, who was Britain's big hope at the time. Lennox Lewis just beat him up for most of the fight and knocked him out. And after the fight, Mike Tyson, who got paid 17 million quid, said thanks for the money, I really need it, and left. And he kept fighting until the early 2000s.
What a way to make money, to just get fucking beat up.
And at this point, not only is he damaging his career and his legacy, but he's just getting beaten up by nobodies as well, and it's embarrassing, and he's not getting any money.
He's not now, though.
He's not fighting anymore, but I think 2003, 4, 5 maybe, he went and did sparring at casinos and around America. Right. He would do 3 rounds with a boxer who had a detached retina, and he was just as fucked. And he'll just they'll just fight for 3 rounds and take some money and leave. But now he has
you're Mike Tyson. You can make so much money just doing appearances. Why didn't he at that point? I know this is too little, too late now. Yeah. But at that point, he was pretty fucking famous in 2003. Why didn't he just write a small script and go on stage with a short spoken word piece about his life or something like that? Well, he made loads of money.
Well, that's what he did last year. He did Mike Tyson's Undisputed Truth.
Did he just do my idea?
And he turned
what I just said?
He turned it into a Broadway show. He went and did one-man show around the country. And it got shown on HBO or something. I've got it on my laptop. And it's really good. He got praise for it. But if you're a fighter, he started training when he was 13 years old. He was world champion by 19.
When did you start training?
4.
Well...
But I stopped at 18, so. But he was world champion when he's not even a fully grown man. Yeah. Fighting is all he knew, and anything other than fighting, he's very famous for being a guy that he had a very good coach. Cus D'Amato is his name. Yeah. And he died before. Was it before he became world champion? I can't remember. But he was very old and he died, and he was the sort of father figure. And then when he went, Don King promoters leached the shit off him because he was street smart. He could beat the shit out of him. He had no business.
He had no
he had no management. He had nothing, and he was automatically the biggest name on the planet. So everybody just wants a piece of you.
I sometimes think when you see these people who used to be really big and then they fell out of the limelight for a bit, and now they're back in something. Yeah. I sometimes think if you told Mike Tyson circa the height of his career, you're going to be in a cartoon with a fucking pigeon and Jim Welch playing a ghost. If you told Chevy Chase, you're going to play a man who sells wet wipes, in a sort of hip teenage
TV
thing.
show.
Like there are loads of things like that where you have like these old. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I can't. But you have these like fairly old celebrities who have unbelievable legacies, and they're doing something that is very peculiar to our time and very weird. And like if you described it to them back then, they'd be like, "What?"
Well, if you tell the Mike Tyson that is saying, you know, I'm gonna fuck you till you love me, I'm gonna eat his heart, you know, all that kind of. He'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he leached and he did his drugs and he did his Maeve did his rape, and then
well, did he?
Well, who knows? And then his daughter died.
Yeah.
And I think he just went a bit mental for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he sort of got over it. I think he's now in on the joke, but people are sort of, I don't know. As a sort of fighting fan, it sort of cringes me to watch him come out and play the I've got
I'm not a fighting fan at all, so I'm detached from. I don't have that perspective. The way I see it is just like
it's Mike
crazy
Tyson's
Mike Tyson,
a crazy character, and he always was a crazy character. But you wouldn't fuck with Mike Tyson. You wouldn't. Yeah. It's one of those people that was so crazy and unpredictable. You wouldn't say anything weird to him.
Like murder you.
You wouldn't joke about you've got a weird voice. You know, none of that would happen.
Yeah.
And it's.
I feel like now the world, well, not the world, but our culture, the Western culture, Western society, is a much cleaner place than it was back then.
Yeah.
Like, there aren't a lot of celebrities who we as a culture would let get to that point. Like, imagine, I think the closest person at the minute to turning into a complete wreck is someone like your Justin Bieber, someone like that. And I feel like we've got a collective eye on him. Maybe this is a really optimistic way to look at our society. But I feel like we're sort of keeping half an eye on him and calling him a cunt and stuff
there's
like that.
no way
but if
not
if
to
he
keep
really,
an eye on him.
Yeah, but I mean a loving eye in a sense.
Yeah.
Like if he really started to do something completely crazy, I feel like there are a lot of people who would step in. Yeah, exactly. Whereas back then,
you didn't have that.
Promoters would probably step in and leech money, which they did. Whereas now, I think Mike Tyson probably has a much more supportive environment, a lot of friends, a lot of social support and stuff like that, which he probably didn't have for a long time. And a lot of that is just comes from the way that our culture has changed now.
There's a big thing when you have money and you're from a certain, whether it's impoverished or, you know, working class background, that you have to live big. There's no, I came from nothing, so I'm going to save and be well. It's kind of, I am now something different. And I don't know if this is racist or not. I don't know where I'm going.
I'm going to say it might be.
But
go on.
You have, it's 40% of NFL and NBA players 2 years after they retire are broke, completely broke, bankrupt.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Because
they
play the game, they get academic scholarships, they get signed so early that they know nothing but the sport. And when you're on 20 million a year playing for, I don't know, the New York Yankees, you think that's going to come forever, and it's not, and you don't, and you've got nobody with you saying put a bit away.
I imagine you sort of in your own
28 Rolexes. You don't need 28.
It's probably a bit of an echo chamber. There's probably one person saying don't buy 28 Rolexes, and then 40 of your friends.
Well, if your friends and
saying,
family
don't listen to that,
who are basically riding your coattails.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Tyson. Weird.
Tyson, it's going to be great. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be a huge hit for Adult Swim. Is it going to be good? I don't know.
I'm just going to read off more.
Went off on a tangent there.
Well, good. That's the point. Warcraft
is about World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Do you feel like talking about that?
Never played it, so I can't really comment on anything. You ever played it?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Didn't grab me.
Mr. T was in an advert for it once. I saw that.
Yeah. World of Warcraft. I played it for like about a week. But I played it because I had a friend who played it who was pressuring me into playing it all the time. So I felt pressured into playing it, and I probably didn't enjoy it for that reason. But I could see enjoying it if I had nothing else to do with my life. I could see that being like, let's say, I feel like now we're in a society where you always have this safety net of World of Warcraft type games. Like you could just fuck up your life completely. Everyone could die. You could become a heroin addict and just ruin your life and not have any money. Yeah. But at least you can just get lost in World of Warcraft and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because people do. I mean, people
die playing it, don't they?
Yeah, that's the whole famous thing of like, someone neglected their kid and their kid starved to death.
Yeah.
Someone played StarCraft and got up 20 hours later and had a heart attack.
I think that happens. Games are like that. It's weird. And it's something that I think...
a handful of games are like that.
For me personally, I think if I was a big gamer in any way, I would lose hours and hours. Because there's been many times I've spent playing very bad, just generic sports games.
Yeah.
And I've lost 6 hours.
Yeah.
I've played FIFA or when I got Virtua Tennis 3 on the PSP, I made my own character, J. Kyber MD.
Yeah.
And I played it all night long and I had to go to school.
I mean, they're time sinks. I was thinking about this earlier on today, actually. I was thinking about how I don't really play games anymore all that much. I do a little bit casually here and there, but because I used to a lot when I was younger, and
on the Kim K game.
The Kim Kardashian app, of course.
B-lister now. Tune in next week. I will be an A-lister.
Like you. But I think that, I don't think I'm in a minority here. I think this is a new emerging type of, quote, gamer who doesn't really play games but reads news stories about games, follows the industry, and watches YouTube videos of people playing games. Because if I do that a lot, if I watch let's say an hour-long YouTube video of someone playing a game,
it's basically playing a game.
It's not really, but I mean it's a completely different experience, really. But you as an outsider might say that's stupid and pointless. But the point is, an hour is shorter than 30 hours.
Yeah.
So in order to play that game myself, and
you have to put 30 hours of work into it.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, but I would at least have to put 40 quid into it as well.
I suppose it's you read about something you're interested in.
Yeah. It's just
you follow its progression and then see what it's like.
I just think that the games industry is not the most, but it'd be an exaggeration probably. It'd probably be biased to say that it's the most interesting industry at the moment.
Yeah.
I suppose people could point to tech to say that's the most interesting industry. But gaming is it's such an emerging new thing, and it's so...
Well,
it's just interesting to follow the news and to follow...
As a medium as a whole, I'm not a gamer at all, really, but it's been around 30 years?
30 years or so, yeah.
What was the Commodore? What was that? Atari, all those kind of old games. Late
70s, early 80s were...
80s. Say 1980, it's still only 30 years, 35 years.
Let's
Television
say Pong really, but I wouldn't say that really counts. But I mean, that's one of the earliest arcade games, and that was 72. Space Invaders? When was Space Invaders? 78. Let's say modern gaming really started... I mean, this is... What I'm about to say is actually wrong. But let's say it started roughly with Donkey Kong, which was the first game Mario appeared in. And that came out 1981.
30 years.
As a rough benchmark.
Okay, 30
80.
to 40 years. If you look at the progression TV has made in the past 10 years, and it's been around for 60, 70 years.
Yeah. I always think about this isn't really related, but I always think about this with CGI, because when the Star Wars prequel movies came out, everyone would criticise the CGI and say it doesn't look realistic, and people would always criticise CGI and say you just shouldn't use CGI in films, it just doesn't look good enough. But this is, let's say Star Wars Episode 2, I think came out in about 2002, and the first time they really employed CGI in a movie in general was, I believe, in about 93 with Jurassic Park. That's a medium that's less than a decade old, and saying, this isn't good enough, abandon it. Imagine if people did that with clay or paint.
Terminator 2, when did that come out?
Yeah, that came out 80s, didn't it? So
I thought it was late 80s. And the CGI in that still stands up. I still think that's good.
That's a good point. Terminator 2. Because I always have... 91. I always have in my mind Jurassic Park as the first CGI.
Well, it's that early 90s era, isn't it?
But it's just... I know this has got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it always irks me when people get at the CGI in the Star Wars prequels, particularly because Star Wars fans are particularly vocal about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a medium that you have to remember that when that film came out, the medium of CGI was literally half as old as it is now.
Yeah.
The actual it's like saying that how old is TV? About 70 years, you just said.
Yeah, I'll say early 40s.
So it's like expecting a new TV show that comes out next month to be the same as a TV show that came out in like the 70s. Obviously, it's that was the halfway point compared to now of that medium.
Yeah, that's true.
And video games have been around for about 30 years, and modern video games like polygonal video, you can't say 3D anymore because people think because 3D TV, 3D glasses.
Oh right, okay.
It's confusing, so you have to say polygonal,
which is more confusing.
It's more confusing.
Right.
But those sorts of games have been around for about 15 years or so.
Well, the thing is, it's so new, and it's sort of tied in to me as an outsider with the advancement of technology.
Yeah.
When you can compress things to be smaller and yet still have the same impact, when you can do X, Y, and Z wherever it goes, whether it's polygonal or not.
You could just say 3D.
it's gonna keep advancing at a quicker and quicker rate.
Yeah.
In the same way that CGI computers, as things progress, it'll progress along with it.
But at some point you get to diminishing returns where...
Well, you'll get to that point, but we're not at that point.
Not yet, but especially when it comes to CGI, it almost seems like recently CGI's dropped off a bit. You don't see it as much, but it's actually there just as much. It's just that a lot of it's photorealistic now, so you don't even notice that it's there. So when it comes to... I mean, this is only graphics, and graphics is a very small part of what makes up a video game. But when you start getting video games that come out that are photorealistic, then...
It turns me off.
Well, you say that, but I mean, let's just, for the sake of argument, say that in 5 years, 10 years...
Well, it's the way it's going by the look of it.
Yeah, but let's say in 5 or 10 years from now you get video games that are like photorealistic. Then where do you go from there? Well, you go to stylised things, you go to... It's like the invention of the camera, really advanced painting, because people no longer had to be photorealistic with paint.
That's interesting.
Cubism and Impressionism and stuff like that.
Yeah, it can go many different ways. You need to sort of reach a point and then tangent from it. Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see where games go. And
to me, games feel wrong if they're photorealistic. I want to play a game and know I'm playing a game.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I want it almost to be a bit clunky.
Yeah.
And not look like a real person's head.
There was that whole thing, I don't know if you paid attention to Roger Ebert, who...
died.
Yeah, he lost this argument because he died. But he was saying...
his lower jaw.
Yeah, he did. That's quite sad. But he was very vocal about how he thought that video games weren't art and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember we had this discussion.
Yeah.
On
TFC, maybe?
TFC about art.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
But my contender for video games as art is a game I think I briefly mentioned earlier on, The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Which is the video game loosely based on the comics. It's not it's not got any of the... Because the TV series is based on the comics as well, but this has got nothing to do with the TV series. And this also doesn't have any of the characters from either. It's entirely its own thing. And that game, almost everybody who played that game said that at the end of it they cried for like 5 or 10 minutes. Like I played it and I cried. It was it's like insanely affecting.
Yeah,
because you're playing the character. Yeah, because you're involved.
You are POV porn sort of thing.
Yeah, the character's named Lee, not POV porn.
No, but it's that whole thing of you are it's the first person shooter kind of thing, I suppose. But you become that person. It's you.
I mean, not really, not really, because in The Walking Dead, you play a guy called Lee, who's this black guy who's a convict, and everyone sort of judges him because he's black and stuff like that. And he's very much his own character, and not a lot of people would be able to relate to him.
Yeah, okay.
So
why is it that it's so affecting?
Well, in the
same way that films are affecting you, not any of it. I understand it, but why in this particular case? So
it's a zombie apocalypse, and near the start of the game, you meet this little girl whose parents have probably died, and basically you sort of become her father figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like, I'm going to be your dad now, but you sort of look after her and stuff like that. And it just gets very emotionally involving.
Right.
And it does something that books can't do, it does something that movies can't do, it does something that TV can't do. Because it's a game. Because
your choices.
Yeah, your choices.
Do you have choices? Or are you following a set?
You're following a story, but choices are a big part of it. Like, do you kill this person? Do you keep this person in your gang and stuff like that?
Because that's where, because obviously games to me is your X character, and the end is you win.
Yeah.
But this is more personal. There's no. It's also I'm shooting aliens. It's a very
This is an adventure game, meaning adventure games traditionally are games where you, like Monkey Island is an adventure game, where you sort of walk around and talk to people and you can do it in your own time. There's not a lot of. It doesn't test your reaction skills really. I mean,
much prefer games like that.
Yeah, I mean, The Walking Dead does to a certain extent because there'll be like a zombie and you have to bash the space bar to get rid of it and stuff like that. But generally, it's a lot of conversations, a lot of go and talk to this person, do this and stuff like that. And almost every action that you do contributes to the story. Yeah. It's a story. It's a story that's being told through
you making decisions.
Yeah. And that's something that games can exclusively do. Only games can do that. Really.
Porn is starting to do it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to lower
Porn's
the tone.
already made me cry though a lot of times.
I don't want to lower the tone, but there's point of view porn now where you make choices.
Yeah, like anal.
No, it's like you talk to somebody.
It is. Don't say no. It is.
Well, eventually it leads to that, but you play like the school headmaster, and it's not on the same level at all.
It's choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it is. But with titties.
But with anal. You don't have to choose anal, but why wouldn't you? They filmed it, and that was probably the most difficult thing for them to film.
So
do them a solid.
Reward them.
I'm saying as if I've played one of these things. I'm not.
I tried to play them, but you don't get any credits for free, and you have to buy credits to make decisions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a thing you can download which gives you free credits, but I'm very wary of that. I'm not
like one of those it's a hack sort of thing. Yeah,
I'm very wary in case it's a virus.
It is.
Yeah, exactly. I've not downloaded
I've been there. No, not really.
No, that's an interesting point about video games as art, which I wouldn't, not as a gamer, I wouldn't ever think of myself.
No.
Yeah, I can see how, graphically the story, it's very similar, but I would never, the personal choice and thus the personal attachment you have to it.
Yeah, the involvement, the interactivity.
It's almost something that you can't have with anything else.
No, it's exclusive.
You can have emphasis with a character in books, films, TV, anything else, but to have control, you don't.
I mean, even the word game is because it's such a new medium and it's still finding its feet. There are certain game developers who don't like the word game, and people see them as pretentious now. But who knows where it'll go? Like a lot of people say, "Here's my interactive story."
Yeah,
and you're just like, "Oh, fuck off." But to be completely fair, what is a game? Does it have a goal and an objective, and is reaction time involved? And there are all these questions.
Yeah. Well, that just comes down to language, really, doesn't it? Yeah. What is your definition of game? This isn't a game.
A game is whatever it is that you call a game. Like the word sport traditionally means physical activity, but then esports.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
like
huge.
StarCraft, which is a video game.
Biggest sport in Korea.
Yeah, the big by far. Yeah, in South Korea, North Korea. The biggest sport is
killing children.
Killing children. Yeah. Bringing it back to the Warcraft movie, though, I think the trend of making movies based on video games, which started with Resident Evil, probably.
What's the first one I saw? Doom with The Rock.
Doom and Carl Urban.
Yeah,
before anyone knew who he was, but he was.
I can't remember who was in it. I only watched it because The Rock was in it.
It was alright.
I've never played Doom, so I do a lot of this. I watch things, even though I have absolutely zero
frame of reference. Yeah.
So I watched the most recent Planet of the Apes. Hadn't watched the first one, and it sort of rolled up. But who cares?
I watched the first one. Hadn't watched the actual first one from the 60s.
I've watched the first one. Which
you know more than me then.
Yeah, that's good, that is.
How was James Franco in that? Quite young. But anyway, I was just going to say, I wonder where this trend of movies based on video games is going, and I wonder how these two mediums can sort of marry successfully each other.
Well, has there ever been a good one?
I'm trying to think. People quite like the Resident Evils, but they're not amazing. Warcraft.
I've never seen
Warcraft. I'm going to call is going to be bad. Well, it's Duncan Jones, and I really like all his films.
Is he
Moon
thingy? Yeah, Moon's
David
really
Bowie's
good.
son. Yeah.
What's his Zowie Bowie or whatever?
Zowie Bowie. Yeah.
Fucking.
He changed it to Duncan Jones.
Fucking loved coke at that point.
Yeah. He was friends with Iggy Pop. Bad influence. hasn't found his
car insurance.
Yeah, hasn't quite got up from that. But I almost want. I mean, this is a pretentious thing to say, and I don't really believe it. But you could almost make the argument that making a movie based on a game cheapens the whole thing, because you're taking away the only thing that's exclusive to games, which is interactivity. So imagine if, for example, to use the example of the Walking Dead game, if you made like a movie or TV series or whatever based on that game, it just wouldn't. I mean,
surely it needs very.
You'd roll a tear, but because it's a sad story, but like
it needs impactful performances in that case.
Yeah, but it also needs interactivity.
Yeah, I've never had that side of it, so I don't really know.
Yeah,
but I've never seen a good game film. The most recent one I watched was Need for Speed with Jesse out of Breaking Bad, and it was just shit. And it was about 2.5 hours long.
That's so weird, because those... I remember playing Need for Speed...
Underground.
No, I remember playing the first or second Need for Speed game when I was about 8. And this is when it was a completely different franchise to what it is now. It was just sort of a car game. And you would just race on racetracks. Yeah. Well, not on racetracks, on streets, but like...
I used to play
cordoned off.
Need for Speed Underground with my granddad, who for some reason at about 65 got himself a PS2.
Well, that's what I'm going to do at 65.
And it was the first time I ever heard Snoop Dogg's version of Riders on the Storm.
What? I didn't know he did a version of Riders
Weirdly good.
I'm not a big Doors fan, though.
You know, been to his grave.
Val Kilmer. Is he dead?
Jim Morrison.
Aha! Anyway, that's Warcraft. What else?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I won't watch it.
I'm going to watch it.
But will you? Because
of the historical value of it.
I see a lot of things. I'll watch that and never do.
Well, yeah, that's the case for most of these things on this list. But I mean, it's such a World of Warcraft is such a huge thing in gaming, for better or worse. A lot of people would say it's for worse. It's almost like the trying to think of it's like the Harry Potter of books. Let's say, like it's one of the things people go to. I mean, books are quite an old medium, so there are a lot of
they've been around since the Bible.
It's like the Harry Potter of 21st century books. People would look at Harry Potter and say, "Oh, yeah, that's one," but then they discount a lot of these other books you've never heard of that are amazing and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean to say it's not good. It's all right. But the story and the lore and stuff, I can't imagine translating very well, because it's from a time as well when video game writers weren't really writers. They were just people who
made games and wrote the story.
There were people who coded. I mean, I'm not sure if that's true for the first Warcraft game, because the first Warcraft game was called Warcraft. It wasn't called World of Warcraft. It was like a strategy game, and it was orcs and shit, and it was loosely based on Lord of the Rings, because they had orcs.
Oh, okay.
And then, I don't know, I can't see it being very good. I'm not a big fan of all that fantasy shit.
No, it's not for me. That's why I've not delved into Game of Thrones yet.
Have you still not watched Game of Thrones? I thought you had.
No.
Have you watched the first season?
No. I know what happens in the first season, but I've not watched it. And universally, everybody I've met has gone, absolutely, it's the best thing ever. Even the people that go, I'm not into the whole fantasy.
That's me.
I don't like the whole dragony shit.
Yeah.
They go, no, it's brilliant though. You really, really love it. I still just haven't started. I'm just really slow at watching things that aren't comedy.
Have you seen the Walking Dead TV series?
No, I've seen the pilot 3 times.
Did you like it?
I've seen the pilot with 3 different girlfriends. That's how long it's been going on.
Did you like it though?
Yeah.
Because I would say that Game of Thrones is to fantasy what The Walking Dead is to zombies. It technically is a part of that genre,
but it's more about
it's more about the characters and it's just well done. It's not. It's like it's not written by someone with fucking autism who's never had sex.
Yeah. It's something that I'm gonna do. Yeah. It's just a matter of... But
I don't want to overhype it.
This is the thing, it's like everybody loves it. There's so many things that everybody loves now and I've got backed up for me.
Yeah.
And I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, there's pressure. Once something gets recommended 3 times, that's...
But I found things that I really like. I watched Silicon Valley the other day, which is a HBO comedy with TJ Miller and some other people I don't really know. And it's about, Silicon Valley in America where all the tech shit is. and they have a start-up, and I know nothing about it, but it was hilarious. Watched the pilot, and I watched all 8 in a day. I thought, oh, that's really funny.
Is it good?
And now it's not on until next year.
I'll write a note.
It's not on until next year, so what am I going to do?
Speaking of Silicon Valley, got nothing to do with anything, but have you heard about the push to separate California into like 6 or so separate states? One of them would be called Silicon Valley.
Oh.
So there would, if that happened...
That would be the richest state.
Well, yeah, there would be a US state called Silicon Valley, which started off as a semi-ironic, as far as I know, like, nickname.
I watched a really interesting documentary about California. It was hosted by Rich Hall. You know Rich Hall, the comedian?
Yeah, from like Mighty Boosh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And it was actually really good. Like, it was funny because he would just do like little jokes here and there. But it was actually really interesting.
I was about to do a Rich Hall impression, but then...
It was on BBC 4.
Didn't. Judgment got the better of me. Whereas I wouldn't be very good at that.
Warcraft, probably won't watch it.
Yeah, Warcraft. Mad Max.
This is another case of, until I see it, I can't really judge. Because there's a lot of these films that they did in around the sort of early 90s, late 80s, that everybody sort of enjoyed at the time in a sort of joking way, and now if you watch them, they're shit. And Judge Dredd was a prime example of that. And I thought, oh fuck, they're dragging Judge Dredd out again.
Yeah.
And that film was incredible. I loved
Dredd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I mean, it was like a B movie, really.
Yeah, it was, but it was
sort of a just
never
watch it and love it.
That's Carl Urban, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you ever read a Judge Dredd comic?
No.
Because a lot of now I'm going to talk out of my arse here, as I want to do, but a lot of people say that the new Judge Dredd film was like really true to the comics and really gritty and stuff like that.
It was very... had a grimy, dark feel.
Yeah, it was really...
I think it was an 18. It was
very dark. And
they're not trying to pander to anybody. They're not trying to get classifications to get more money. Here's a film.
And they compare it to the Stallone one and say, oh, that was fucking stupid, and it was so campy and stupid. Took his helmet off, which admittedly is sort of like spitting in the face of the comics. And I've never read too many of the comics, but my dad was always a huge fan of 2000 AD, which is the comics that Judge Dredd was a part of, like the anthology. And so he had like a huge collection of these comics. Yeah. And so I wasn't really allowed to read them, but I would just sit on the floor and read them. Yeah. And they were campy as shit. They were so campy, yeah. I've got like a collection now that I bought from Waterstones of like Judge Dredd comics from like the 80s before they were coloured. Yeah. Like black and white. And they're just so humorous and campy and not meant to be taken and satirical. They're satirising various things and they're just stupid and very British. Yeah. It's almost like if the writers of the Beano made a
film.
I mean, American people won't understand that reference and like won't know what I'm talking about.
It's a sort of child. It's a child's comic, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean that doesn't tell you. It's like that certain flavour of comedy, which you can only see in like the Beano, the Dandy, and a few other comics, and like Viz maybe.
Do they still exist?
They do, yeah. Unfortunately, but like there's some sort of flavour of comedy where
I do know what you mean.
There's like a hangover from the 70s. Like they'll use a lot of words like daft all the time. Like who uses daft, things like that. Like a lot of There's a very particular campiness. Yeah. It's like it's pretty ineffable. It's very difficult to.
But it's not.
Put words
it's
on.
not campiness that you get. No, you will get sick of it eventually. But you sort of. It's nice. It's refreshing.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's very, very British. It's
just readable.
Yeah.
Like it takes very little effort.
Yeah.
Just go.
I think one of the things that makes it really British is that it doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest.
Yeah.
Like if you compare British culture to American culture.
Yeah.
Americans. I don't want to offend anyone, and this is a generalisation, but Americans tend to be much more dramatic.
It's because they've got no history.
That's offensive.
Probably.
Whereas British people tend to be a lot more laid back about things. Like if you say to a British person, like let's say when Gordon Brown stepped down as Prime Minister,
I didn't expect a political reference there.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that to come from you.
I'm not a very political person.
Remember when Labour Party conference 2000?
But I'm saying that's such a big thing. If that happened in America, like, that did happen. Nixon fucked off, didn't he? Nixon stepped down.
After Watergate.
And that was like a huge thing. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Yeah. But when that happened in Britain,
everyone said, oh, okay.
Everyone sort of made a joke about it and said something about his chin and then carried on with their day. Like, no one really cares about anything in Britain. I don't know why, but that very particular British sensibility
very much like that.
Carries through into the... I don't know, you could write books on campiness, and people have done. But campiness is a very peculiar thing.
And a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah. You have to really... I think if something is campy and you like it, then it's likely that you'll really, really like it. Like I was talking about the Joel Schumacher Batman with Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey. That was a very camp movie.
Well,
I loved it because of that campiness. And
traditional professional wrestling is exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an American campiness, which is in the first Judge Dredd film and the Batman films.
Yeah, you have that side of it. But even if you come back to it here, like the World of Sport days, you have your big daddies and your giant haystacks, and you have the whole... You play a over goodie and you play an over baddie, and then you just sort of bang together.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of camp. That's the more British campiness.
It's not taking itself too seriously. I think it respects the...
It knows what it is.
Yeah. It has a certain amount of respect for the inherent likeableness of a good versus evil story, or of a very simple story.
It's just very simple storytelling.
Yeah. And that's pretty particular to wrestling, but
it's especially that British style of... It was the biggest thing in England for a long, long time.
What was?
World of Sport Wrestling. Oh no, it stopped in 85, but it was like the big thing Saturday, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Was it 3 o'clock?
What's
2 o'clock?
Think of a more contemporary campy British thing, because I can't...
It's a knockout.
I'm drawing a blank. I didn't really watch it. It's a knockout.
We can't talk about it because Stuart Hall's a paedophile. Generation Game.
There you go. He's from Nuneaton. Larry Grayson, another Nuneaton star.
Yeah.
Tick.
His name's on the side of our buses.
Yeah.
Oh, shut that door.
That's campy in the sort of gay sense.
Yeah, okay, but then...
I mean, it is campy, but
then
that sort of
take
campiness.
away Larry Grayson as the host. Jim Davison did it.
Again, this is... You're talking before either of us were born.
I watched Jim Davison as Generation Game host.
When was that?
90s through to about 2000.
Yeah, I think I did as well, actually. But I can't... I'm just saying I can't think of any recent...
Okay, like any of those games, though, like Price is Right, or...
Yeah.
That card game, Higher or Lower, Bruce Forsyth.
Price is Right has an English version, and I think it's based on an American TV show, or the other way around.
Version, yeah.
But if you watch the American version, if there is any campiness, I don't detect it. Like,
I've not seen the only American version I've seen is when Barney goes on it in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of a campy.
It's very difficult.
I'm trying to think of a modern campy thing.
I can't give you one.
From Britain. Maybe we've lost our campiness.
Yeah, it'll be out there somewhere.
I think maybe in retrospect some things will seem campy. Like 8 out of 10 Cats does a countdown is a very it's a game show like Price is Right.
You sort of it knows what it is, and it just sort of plays it very well.
Yeah, and that's going to mean nothing to a lot of people who've never heard of that. But
but it's fine.
Yeah,
I don't know how we got to campiness either. I'm not.
Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd.
I love that from Mad Max.
Mad Max with Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
I like Tom Hardy. I think he's good.
Yeah,
everything I've seen him in has been good.
First thing I saw him in was Rock and Roller.
Rock and Roller I enjoyed.
And then at the end credit was like, they're coming back in Rock and Roller 2.
Did that ever happen?
No, but the end credit said that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie films, people either love them or hate them.
Guy Ritchie, that's campiness. That's modern British campiness. Danny Dyer.
Danny Dyer. What?
That is modern British campiness. We've got it. We've found it.
Yes. Elbows.
High five.
Yeah. Tom Hardy is good in everything I've seen him in.
But I don't see what could possibly...
I also can't really remember the plot of Mad Max. Had Mel Gibson in, didn't it, the original one?
Yeah. But that was campy because it was.
Well, yeah.
I think that's probably how. I think that's probably how we got onto Campiness Man.
Yeah.
Is that we were talking about.
Yeah, retrospect.
80s and 90s movies and stuff like that.
So I can't even really remember the plot of Mad Max.
It's post-apocalyptic Australia, isn't it?
Something like that. It looked too reliant on big action explosions.
Special effects, stuff like that, yeah. I just don't see what else you can say with that. Not that the original said anything particularly, but it was it was interesting, it was grabbing, it was like...
Yeah.
Pleasing on some level because it was this crazy thing, like, oh man, look at this, it's so crazy. And now it's like, oh, we've seen it.
It's very difficult to do something bigger and better at this point.
But even if you do it bigger and better, it's still you're just iterating on this.
It's not going to be what it deserves to be, if that makes sense, because the bar is so high that if you haven't got the narrative to make a good film anyway, you're relying on overblown. There's only so far you can get, really.
Yeah. What
can you do that's going to make me gasp or go, wow, that's fucking cool? No, there's not a lot, really.
No.
Especially over the course of 2 hours. You might be able to do it once. Well, that's it. If you've not got a narrative there, what are you going to do? Tom Hardy is a good actor, and he's tall and muscly. But other than that, what? Yeah. If the story's not there, the actor can be the best actor in the world. Like, what are you going to do with it?
I mean, there's nothing you can do with that whole sort of like describe Mad Max. It's like, well, it's an apocalyptic world, and everyone drives cars with spikes on them and stuff like that. And you've said it there. And that's all it is.
That's it.
And when the first one came out, I imagine that was like crazy because you'd never seen anything like it. It's like, oh, they drive around in deserts and fucking shoot each other and eat each other. But now you've seen it, and you've also seen everything it's influenced. So that's at this point, it's going back to it is like
it seems pointless.
Yeah.
Unless you can do a whole completely different take on it.
It's just the novelty of it. It's an entirely novel thing. It's like the novelty of saying, oh, remember when this was new and now we're doing it again. It's the present day. I don't think it's going to be all that.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it.
What are you going to rate
that? 2.
2 out of 5?
Yeah, 2 out of 5.
Family Guy Simpsons crossover.
Oh.
Do you want to talk about it?
Well, it's a big... I feel it's a big moment that's about 5 years too late.
Yeah, it's overdue. It's well overdue.
These Simpsons is probably the best animated comedy of all time.
One of the best TV series of all time, in my opinion.
But it's probably over the past 5 years got to a point where people have gone, if it ended now, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's been ups and downs. It's still very, very watchable.
It still does well in ratings. Yeah. I think it'll end when one of the cast members wants it to end. Or dies.
Yeah, well, they are dropping off now.
Well, Krabappel did.
Yeah, but I mean, if a big one goes, one that does like 4 or 5, then what are you going to do?
Shearer or Azaria. Yeah. But Azaria's 50, I think.
No, they're not very old. But I mean, for probably 15, 20 years, it was great, like really, really good. Good. And then if you take this 5 years and have it as its own show, you go, oh, it's just a good watchable show. But in comparison to the past, it's not quite the same. It's still good, but it's had up and down seasons. Yeah. Family Guy, when it first came about, which is apparently a lot longer ago than I remember.
Yeah, 99, 98.
Okay, when I first started watching it, I thought, oh, okay, this is good. I do enjoy it. Now, I don't really watch it. It's... For me, it doesn't work because it's too reliant on American references that
American political references in particular, in my opinion.
I just don't get.
Yeah, I just don't... I get a lot of them, I don't care about them, or I don't get them.
Yeah, there's some you go, oh...
But I don't want to piss on Family Guy, though. I like Family Guy.
I'm just saying it doesn't work as well for me because the references and the jokes that are dragged on too long are used too frequently now.
Well, there's that whole joke where Peter Griffin fights the guy in the chicken costume. It's like, oh, that went on for longer than I thought it would. And then in the trailer for the Family Guy Simpsons
does that with Homer.
Yeah, but why is that funny or good? Because you already know what's going to happen. You already know, oh, this is going to go on too long.
Yeah.
But then, aside from that, all it is punches, and you're just watching this animation reel. It's not funny. It's not entertaining.
And when that first got used in Family Guy, and Simpsons have done it in the past as well, it's the joke that goes on a bit too long, and it's funny because it's gone on too long. And you drop it in occasionally and it's funny.
There was another one of the Family Guy where he hurts his shin and he goes, and he does that for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And
which was hilarious the first time.
That's funny, but when you do it 2 times an episode, 3 times an episode, it sort of loses its value.
I think it's allowed to be funny 3 times. First, just 3 times, like in the run of a show.
Okay.
First of all, it's funny on its own merit.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's funny again because, well, it was pretty funny. Let's let them have it again.
Yeah.
And third, to reference it,
to call back to it. Yeah.
If you do it a 4th time, what are you doing?
And I feel both Simpsons and Family Guy are at a point now where there's not much they can do.
Yeah.
Every sort of avenue, every Simpsons character has pretty much had its own episode.
Yeah.
They've done Halloween specials, they've done Christmas, they've done a fucking film, which was good, really enjoyed it, but they've done a film. There's no real point where it can go. And if you did this crossover 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, I know it wasn't big Family Guy then, but
if you crossed over with like
would have been fresh.
South Park.
South Park is still going, still plodding along, and arguably the most consistently funny.
I mean,
animation.
South Park is a show where if it almost feels like it peaked, but it plateaued, like it hasn't gone down from its peak.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
it's just very, very good.
I feel like it might do. Like
the thing about South Park is it's not on British television as much as The Simpsons or Family Guy.
That's true.
I can watch The Simpsons probably 5 episodes a day.
Yeah.
And of course, you've seen every Simpsons episode, like Friends or whatever. You've seen them so many times that you know the lines and you're waiting for the joke and it's funny and it's great. But when I first watched South Park, I probably didn't really get it. I just laughed at like the fart references and whatever. Where if you watch it now, it's still hilarious. It's hilarious.
And it's so different.
It is a very different. Well. It's a very different comedy.
It's on the one hand, it's sort of a bit preachy.
Yeah, it can be. It can get a bit too.
Like they often have a message of some sort, which is something that in the earlier South Park seasons they did occasionally when it just happened to happen, because they're very Matt Parker and Trey Stone.
Yeah.
Other way around. Flip those.
Yeah, Matt Stone, Trey Parker.
They're obviously very passionate people who have very strong opinions, and so obviously that's going to come through in their work. Yeah. Actually, you owe me a coat. But at a certain point,
you become reliant on it after.
Well, yeah, at a certain point, if you're no longer doing that just because you just have to do it, and it's I just got to get this out there. If you're just doing it because that's what people expect and that's what works and stuff like that, then you might be in trouble. Yeah. And also, their turnover now is literally 6 days.
6 days. I've seen the short. I watched it a couple of weeks.
The documentary 6 days to where
it's really interesting.
Where they write and produce and put out the episode in 6 days, which doesn't give them a lot of time to ruminate on what they're doing or why they're doing it. I mean, admittedly, there are like month-long stretches in between, but at the minute those month-long stretches, they're still working really hard. They're doing the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, they're still
whatever else it
very
is
successful in other things as well.
So they don't have a lot of time to pause and think about South Park and what they're doing. But having said that, though, there was an episode in one of the most recent seasons where it seemed like they did comment on the show getting a bit stale and not really knowing what they're doing with it, because Stan...
I think we've all been through that. All the
maybe
animations have been through that at some point.
I don't know if you saw this episode where Stan had his 10th birthday or something.
I've not watched the most recent seasons.
I'm not sure if it's like the last season or something like that. He had his 10th birthday and he started seeing everything as shit.
Yeah.
Like he went and saw an Adam Sandler movie and he just saw it as shit and everyone was laughing and he just saw a turd on the screen. He's like, don't see this as shit. And like, it's not shit, it's Adam Sandler, it's great.
Yeah.
And the episode, like the last 5 or so minutes of the episode is like his parents get divorced and he moves away from South Park and he's like, I'm really not sure if I want to keep doing this anymore. And it's not funny.
Yeah.
And it's got sad music playing over it and then like dry credits and you're like, is that the end of South Park? Is that what? But then they did another season.
Yeah.
But it still tips you off to at least they're sort of thinking about it.
Their mindset for it. I think at some point all 3 of them are going to have to come to an end. It's probably going to happen quite soon around each other. Simpsons been going 25 years. Family Guy's been going 15.
Yeah.
So South Park. That's a long time.
I'm not sure if we're ever going to get another. Well, I suppose Bob's Burgers.
Well, that was my issue with this crossover thing.
Oh, is it Bob? The little aside with Bob.
They have like 3 seconds with Bob Belcher in it.
Yeah.
And I feel this is a move from Simpsons and Family Guy to create more. You know, they're still getting good ratings, and they will forever because they're sort of institutions. But they're sort of clamouring for something a little bit different, and so they're doing a crossover.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, if they had the ideas they had 10 years ago, they wouldn't be doing this.
No.
But they're doing it because people will watch, and it'll be
and they can
interesting.
Comic-Con and say, look at this.
I don't think it'll be great. I think it'll be funny in
It
parts.
looks like it'll be. You'll have a few laughs from what I saw.
It looks
have
like
a few. Oh, why do they do that?
You'll have everything each show is famous for, like the fighting and this, and we'll have jokes about the different colours, and
it'll probably be too self-indulgent.
Yeah.
On both ends.
Well, it was. You saw it in the clip, like the dog was named Brian.
Brian.
I think this is a one-shot deal. Except it's a bit too.
And then he says,
nudge, nudge.
I think Peter says something like, "Oh, they're all yellow," but then like in a separate scene, I was like, "Oh, they're all pale."
Yeah.
Can't do the same joke twice. It's like very indulgent in that.
It'll be watchable, and it'll probably be quite funny. I'm not going to lie, but it's not going to be incredible. Like I say, they wouldn't have been doing this 10 years ago.
No. I always point to John Swartzwelder as the reason that Simpsons was ever amazing. And John Swartzwelder was a writer.
Yeah.
I think he left around the 9th or 10th season, and he wrote more Simpsons episodes than any other writer at that point anyway.
Really?
And if you have those 10 seasons and you pick like your top 5 or 10 favourite episodes, the chances are they're going to be John Swartzwelder ones. Because there's something about his brain
that's just wired to write
unhumanly funny. Like he's written a few books. He wrote a book called The Time Machine, did it? Mm-hmm. And it's a stupid book, but
it just works.
I mean, it's just like the jokes in it are just so good. It's like it's like you'll just read a page and you'll just some sort of aside that is worded so right,
just spot on.
Yeah, it's just he's just such a funny, good writer. No one knows who he is. No one knows his name.
Yeah.
But I always point to him as the reason that it was ever
writers,
amazing.
Comedy writers, when they try and branch and do a bit of everything, that's where it often goes wrong. Like if you stick to, like I suppose a modern example, like Ricky Gervais is very good at like the sort of mockumentary style. Him and Merchant do that well. Mm. But when he wrote an episode of The Simpsons,
did he?
Yeah, with him in it. I mean, it was good, but it's not. You don't think, well, this is one of the funniest men in the world. He's done films, and people have gone, not great.
He's good at podcasts.
His podcast and his stand-up is good, but that's just vocalising comedy himself.
Yeah, that's what he's good at. He's good at... Ricky Gervais is good at...
writing for himself.
Well, just performing. Yeah. He's good at performing in a very funny way.
Well, that's because
he knows how to write for his own performance really well. And him and Steve Merchant are
very good.
Such close friends and writers, and they know each other so well they can do that really well. But yeah, when he writes a movie or when he writes a script,
it just doesn't quite work as well.
I had a revelation about The Office, by the way, the other day. I was thinking if The Office was real, it wouldn't be a documentary; it'd be a reality TV show, like Storage Wars or something.
There's a show on BBC Three. It's called like The Call Centre or something.
Yeah,
it's pretty much the same,
but
just not very funny. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know why in this crossover they dragged Bob's Burgers into it.
I think they didn't intend for this, but I bet it's going to almost feel like they're passing the torch. In retrospect, I bet it's almost going to feel that way.
Well, if you look at those two, Bob's Burgers and Archer, they're linked. They're the same people to a certain extent. Same voice. Well, not same voices, but similar, writers, etc. Archer is exceptionally good. It's really
better than Bob's Burgers.
It's just a different show. It's like an adult Bob's Burgers, really. Like Bob's Burgers, you could probably watch it with a kid.
Yeah, definitely.
But Archer, you couldn't. There's like drugs and guns and coke and tits and.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's like done in a very. It's not. It's just good. They're both very, very good, and of course they're heavily influenced by South Park, Family Guy, Simpsons, because they are the past of animation.
You can't not be. Yeah.
The Simpsons is the be-all and end-all, really.
It's the benchmark. In some senses, for comedy. Like, you can't watch a comedy that was... You can't watch any comedy TV series or movie, particularly TV series,
in the past,
that came out in the 2000s that hasn't been influenced by The Simpsons. You just can't. There just isn't anything.
I'm trying to think of a sort of other example of that. Maybe Monty Python in, like, sketch comedy.
Or, like, Charlie Chaplin films.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's a better one. But, yeah, I just feel Bob's Burgers shouldn't have been there. I don't. If you want to pass the torch,
I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think they were trying to. The joke was that they were carrying Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Which is fucking a joke. It's a joke, and not in the way they intended it to be. It's an insult.
They're two completely different shows, and I feel while they're on the wane, they've had some brilliant pass higher than Bob's Burgers. I would say.
Yeah.
But Bob's Burgers is a very.
I feel like it's on the way up.
Yeah, it's a very good now show.
Has real vitality to it.
That's peaking probably right about now. The same with Archer. Over the past, 2 years, those two shows have just really hit a good plateau, constantly hilarious. Whereas it's sort of been the opposite.
Yeah.
For Family Guy and...
They've been on the downward slope for quite a while.
It's like, don't drag them into it. Let them do their thing, because they're very good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of other animation other than those two. I don't know what else is out there, really. I don't know what the next wave... Because Bob's Burgers, they're about to do season 5. I think we've just seen season 4 or 5 of Archer. So I don't know what the next...
There are some that are aimed at kids that a lot of people like Adventure Time.
Adventure Time is... It's like being on acid.
I've watched... I watched an episode of it and I didn't really like it, but then I watched another episode of it that someone recommended to me and I found it hilarious.
It's good, but I couldn't...
Oh, Futurama, that's another cartoon that I forgot about.
You actually forget Futurama.
But that's been cancelled.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could bring it back if they wanted to.
The thing about Futurama is it's just completely... It's in space, so you can do whatever you want, really.
You sort of can, but they've restricted themselves in terms of their aesthetics and the way that they tell stories and the way that they do jokes, stuff like that. But people wanted to... I feel like... Because Futurama was revived a year or two ago.
Yeah.
For like 1 or 2 seasons, yeah. And people, for some reason, just wanted to be like, oh, this is shit. But I watched all of them. They were far more creative and funny than the earlier Futuramas, in my opinion. Like, there was an episode that was a nature documentary. There were all sorts of... They did all sorts of crazy shit like that. Like, they did one that was set in one-dimensional space or two-dimensional space.
Futurama has been consistently very good. I don't know how long it's been about.
1999. So same amount as Family Guy.
But I feel it's been more consistently funny than Family Guy.
I feel that as well, but when I watch early Futurama, it is dated. It really is dated. Like, some of the jokes that I found funny then are so obvious and stupid and not good.
But I feel like Family Guy is just an all-round more American show.
Yeah, very much.
Because the references, the references really.
Family Guy's a bit too snobby, I think. It thinks that it's amazing, and it's...
I feel that's sort of Seth MacFarlane as a whole.
Yeah. And I do like Seth MacFarlane a lot, especially because he's given Ralph Garman a good career, and he's one of my favourite podcasters.
I enjoy his work, but I don't love his work. Like, I enjoyed Ted.
Ted was good.
I thought that was good. I think Family Guy's good.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's excellent.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that.
But I feel like he thinks his work is excellent.
I feel like he has broken ground, but only a tiny bit. And he thinks that he's broken ground massively. Yeah. I feel like his work, it is groundbreaking, but it's only a bit groundbreaking.
It's,
Like, it's easy now to think of... Because you're so used to Family Guy, it's easy to just look at it as like, oh, it's Family Guy.
Yeah.
But it's a groundbreaking cartoon. Like, it really is. It's just some of the things that it did were you just wouldn't have expected, and it took so many left turns and stuff like that. But now, that's done now. I feel like every creative person should do a Kevin Smith and self-immolate after
just
every like 5 or 6 years. Just
do something
drop
else.
what you're doing and start again.
Yeah,
because otherwise you just get stale, and that's why we're announcing
our movie. Family Guy, Simpsons.
What are you going to rate it out of 5? Come on.
I think
1.
I think a 3.5. I think it'll be good.
3.5. That's far higher than anything else you've rated so far.
No, I gave Tusk a 4.
Oh yeah, you did.
I've only done 2 other ratings. It'll be funny, but it's not going to make any. Nothing new is going to come of it.
Yeah,
you're going to do a very self-indulgent episode of Simpsons, episode of Family Guy, or both, or however they're going to work it.
Yeah,
and that'll be it.
I think we've said all that can be said about that at this point.
I'll watch it though. I'll definitely watch it.
I'm just gonna. Right, I've still got loads of shit that came out in Comic-Con that we've not talked about. I'm just going to read them all out because we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Woo!
We should probably stop at 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I'm just going to read these out and we'll pick one to talk about.
Okay. Good news. Kim Kardashian has a new outfit for you.
Oh, brilliant. Do you have to wait 7 hours before you can wear it or something?
No, I've no idea.
Right, Ant-Man, Jurassic World, Jupiter Ascending, Godzilla 2, King Kong prequel, Sting.
Ant-Man's interesting.
Which one do you want to talk about? Come on.
I can't even remember
all
with
you. Ant-Man, Jurassic World.
Do all of them, but do them very, very short.
Alright, Ant-Man, go.
Ant-Man, Paul Rudd. Interesting choice.
Yeah, Paul Rudd.
I don't know the plot. What's the plot?
I've never looked into the comic or anything like that, but I think that
he can become very, very small.
Well, yeah, I think that it's that his dad was Ant-Man, the hero who became very, very small, and then somehow Paul Rudd inherited that.
Yeah.
See, with comics, a lot of these comics have been going on for decades and decades and decades, where they write a new story every week. So the stories are so contrived and involved, and they're on the 7th Peter Parker by this point. Yeah. Well, they're not really, but you can just throw a dart at one of the comics and say, right, we'll do it at this period of time, this time period, this point. So I suppose that's what they're doing, and they're doing it halfway through or something, where it's now the son of Ant-Man, the second person to be called Ant-Man or whatever. If
Ant-Man is not tongue-in-cheek, but a quite comedic, more comedic than your other superhero films. I know, Guardians of the Galaxy seems quite comedic.
Yeah.
If it's of that sort of nature, I think it'll do well, because Paul Rudd is just very likeable. Yeah, I've never not liked Paul Rudd. He's funny. There's never even been a line in a performance that I've not liked of Paul Rudd's. I mean, he's not amazing or anything. He's very funny. Sam Rockwell. And he's attractive, but in an everyman kind of way. He could be your friend, but he'll be the most attractive of your friends, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you can... But not to a point where you talk about it. Yeah, you wouldn't mention it, but if anyone asks, you go, Paul Rudd. Yeah. So he fits into the kind of Hollywood quite well, but not in a kind of unattainable goal. Yeah. So he just fits, he slots in perfectly. It's almost like... it's almost like when you try and bounce a pencil on your finger. Yeah. He's got it. Yeah, when you just get that right spot. It's just balanced, and it's like... Or a broom on your chin. Yeah, exactly. If you moved even slightly, you'd be off. Be it down. If his hair was blonde. He does sort of hit it out of the park 95% of the time. He's just great. I would like to be his friend. If he's listening, I'm inviting him, not on podcast necessarily, but to my house. Invite us to star in Ant-Man, because I'll probably watch it. Because Paul Rudd... star in it. Yeah. I imagine they've filmed. Oh, I imagine they've done post and wrapped it all. They've done post already? Well, we'll do post and just chop our faces in. Doing thumbs up. It'll be like that postcard we received from those Americans where they're on that building. That was weird. Yeah. But Ant-Man, I will watch. Not weird though, because they were fans. Thanks, fans. Yeah, Ant-Man. Fuck off. I will probably give that 3.5 as well. Next. Jurassic World. Is this a follow-up to Jurassic Park? It is a follow-up to Jurassic Park. 20 years ago. Of 1994, 20 years ago. Or 1993, possibly. Why? Oof. Well, they did... This isn't the first follow-up to Jurassic Park. They did Jurassic Park 2. 2 and 3, I think. And 3, yeah. And I didn't really enjoy them that much. They were quite bad. But the first Jurassic Park was... Great. Amazing. Really good. A brilliant film, in my opinion. I love Jurassic Park. And dinosaurs are going to be in forever. Everyone loves dinosaurs. Yeah. And what I gather is, because with the second and third Jurassic Parks, and I don't know how much of these are based on the Crichton novels. I mean, he's dead now, so I don't really know. Fucking. But from what I gather, the second and third Jurassic Parks just took that concept and put it a foot further each time and said, what if it happened on an island?
And this is 6 months later, and he's in Pennsylvania, or what happened? There's a T-Rex, and it's like, well,
what's the difference going to be in this one?
Well,
is it going to be all over the world?
No. What I gather is that they've tried Jurassic Park again, and it's open to the public, and it's successful.
Yeah.
So it actually is this park.
Will something go wrong?
Yeah. I have no idea, but yes.
When's it?
I can't imagine everything will just go right.
When's it? It's just a sort of walking tour.
Yeah.
When's it scheduled to be out?
I'm not sure. Let's have a look-see.
And who's in it?
Chris Pratt.
Oh, I saw a picture of it on Reddit
Didn't
today.
he look handsome? Didn't he look handsome?
He looked stunning.
I looked at that and I was like, that's not Chris Pratt, is it?
Chris
What's
Pratt?
happened to him? 2015, by the way.
Parks and Recreation is... I don't know what he did before it, but he's sort of used that as a huge platform.
Lego Movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jurassic World. He's going to be fucking so famous.
He's so rich.
He's not only rich, he's going to be the leading man. He's going to be
Guardians
Tom
of the
Cruise
Galaxy. Everybody seems to love it.
Yeah.
Lego Movie, everybody loved it.
I've not watched either of them yet.
I've not watched either of them, but people have reviewed well.
Yeah, apparently they're great.
Jurassic World is bound to probably be good.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And everyone loves Parks and Recreation last season.
I feel like... Do you know how I feel?
He's come out of it the best out of all of those people.
Definitely. I feel that now we've got to a point in movie making where it's so unlikely that you can make a bad film. I know it sounds stupid to say that, but if you look back into like even the 90s, there were a lot of films that were just bad, and they had huge budgets behind them, but they were just badly written, or like did you ever hear about that Superman movie that was going to have Nick Cage in it? No. And he was going to fight a giant spider, and he wasn't able to fly because they thought that wouldn't sell well. They just made bad choices. But I feel like now the industry is so established, and there are so many creative, very intelligent people behind it that
it's also much easier to see what people want.
Yeah,
you don't have to do market. Yeah. You don't have to get 100 people in a room and say, "What about this? What about that?"
I just feel as though
Twitter,
There's Reddit,
50 million people there. Just have a look.
Even just search, you just Google it. People have probably people love saying their opinion, so you don't have to ask.
Yeah, so it's literally going to be there.
Yeah.
So if you just follow what the majority of people want,
I mean, that's probably a contributing factor. I don't know why it is, but I just know that I think that the worst movie of 2015 is going to be better than...
Well, the worst, big movie.
Yeah, the worst blockbuster of 2015 is going to be better than a middling movie of 1995.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Far better. Probably... I mean, what was the best movie in 1995? It's going to be something amazing, isn't it? I'm going to look it up. I'm just going to type in best movie 1995.
7. When did that come out? I'm going to say it's 7.
Doubt it, man. Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
Oh, Toy Story. Fuck you, man. Toy Story is 7.
Better than Toy Story.
Of course, Babe.
Babe came out in 1995?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Apollo 13, Casino.
Casino's an incredible movie.
Ace Ventura 2. Yeah. Batman Forever with Jim Carrey. There it is. That was the best movie of 1995.
Fucking hell.
But 7 was a great movie, but just the way it was shot and stuff like that, they just didn't have
the
knowledge and the resources that they have now, and I don't know, it's just something about the way that they make movies now.
Yeah, it's on a much bigger...
This isn't really to do with Jurassic World, but let's move on to the next one. Oh, also, the Jurassic World poster was painted. And
I saw you comment about this on some social media.
Facebook. I hope...
And I was like, Phil will be all over that.
Yeah, I really hope that marks a return to painted posters, because...
Like Drew
Struzan, yeah. I mean, I really hope they get Drew Struzan for the new Star Wars movies. That'd be great. But for the past...
Is he old?
He's not too old, I don't think.
As long as he can use his hands.
Ralph McQuarrie, who's now dead, but he couldn't... He did a lot of the art for the original Star Wars films. He sort of came up with the look for them, but he couldn't use his hands for the past few years.
It's a shame.
But I hope that we have a return to painted posters. That'd be phenomenal if that happens. Especially because if you look at some fan posters now,
you see them on Reddit quite a lot. I don't want to be a Reddit guy.
So much better than the official poster, whatever the official poster is. Think of any movie, and type in that movie fan poster, and someone will have fucking painted this beautiful poster, no matter what, or like come up with an amazing design or creative.
You see it a lot. I don't want to be the sports wrestling guy, but you have, of course, like fight cards or wrestling events. Just have the generic poster that they have out.
Yeah,
and somebody was
it's always like photoshopped.
Somebody like, I just made this, and it's like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Whatever, it might be like proper 60s style, whatever it is. It just looks great. Always looks so much better. So I want to just hire this 12-year-old kid to do it for you.
I mean, I don't think the Jurassic World poster was amazing in and of itself, but I hope that it marks a return to that at least.
That style.
Jupiter Ascending.
This is Matrix people, isn't it?
Wachowski siblings.
Used to be brothers or sisters, or brothers. Which one?
Used to be brothers, and then Larry became Lana.
Cool.
Yeah.
Makes good films. Although, do they?
Well, they didn't write that.
Because they directed, and what did they direct recently? That was fucking awful. Cloud Atlas.
It wasn't. I don't think it was awful. It was weird.
God, it was bad.
Keith David in Yellowface was a bit weird.
Oh, it was just, and it went on for about 4 hours.
I'm looking forward to Jupiter Ascending though, because they do the whole, like Joseph Campbell hero's journey thing, which is what Star Wars was based on. It's what Harry Potter was based on. The Matrix was based on it. It's this archetypical mythological construct of a way of writing a story that people have done for thousands of years. And this guy called Joseph Campbell, this mythologist, sort of pinned it down into a structure and said, this is how people write these stories. This is how the Jesus story and the Hercules story.
That's how it came.
It's how all these goes. And then George Lucas befriended him and wrote Star Wars. That became big. And then, and then J.K. Rowling picked up on it and wrote Harry Potter, and that became huge. And then the Wachowski brothers picked up on it and wrote The Matrix, and that became huge. And it looks like they're going to do a similar thing with Jupiter Ascending. And it also looks like it's going to be a sort of fairly sci-fi aesthetic.
What's the plot of it?
I have no idea. I know that Channing Tatum plays half dog, half man.
What have they done? What have they written? Matrix. Oh, they wrote V for Vendetta.
Yeah, but Alan Moore wrote that, really.
Well, yeah, but I mean for the film.
They would have
he doesn't want anybody to do any of his stuff, does he?
That's because he's a fucking true Midlands boy.
Epic space opera film.
I mean, it could be dog shit. It looks like it's either going to be absolutely terrible,
175 million budget,
or really
so
good.
It shouldn't be terrible.
Well,
it'll look great. It's one of those films like Cloud Atlas. It looked great.
It's going to be really. Again, we were talking about campiness earlier. The Wachowski brothers or the Wachowski siblings do campiness, and they do it not necessarily well, because Cloud Atlas they did campiness, and I don't think it paid off. I don't think they did that very well. But in The Matrix, they did that. The Matrix was really campy. It was very leathery and stuff like that. You don't think of it as being campy because, for some reason, people had a blind spot of self-awareness in 1999 where they genuinely thought leather and sunglasses were cool.
At the time, everyone was like, that's the badass.
Yeah, but you look back at it now and it's like, well, it's
terrible.
A little bit
That's
silly.
Awful.
Yeah.
Still
and it seems like they've embraced that somewhat now. With Jupiter
Have you heard about Sense8?
What's that?
It's an upcoming American science fiction drama, co-written and co-directed by the siblings and Babylon 5 creator J. Michael Straczynski. And it's going to.
Where do I know J. Michael Straczynski from?
He created Babylon 5.
Apart from that,
and it's going to be on Netflix.
I need to find out where I know this guy's name from. Unless it is just Babylon. I've watched 2 episodes of Babylon 5 and I found it fucking bizarre, so I had to stop watching it. Babylon 5, that's it. Anyway, let's move on.
That shows how big Netflix is coming.
There were a few Netflix series announced at Comic-Con. I think The Flash, maybe. Something like DC Comics.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure.
How do you feel about Godzilla and King Kong kaiju movies?
I've not watched the most recent Godzilla.
Neither have I. But they're doing a second one, and it's going to have like Mothma, like other kaijus. Because now it's become really fucking trendy and hit.
What is this kaiju? Like the originals. What does that mean?
You know, the original Godzilla movie was like a Japanese movie from the past, and it was a guy in a fucking suit, and then they did another one where he fought another guy in a suit, and they just did this series of movies where it was guys in suits on scale building models. And in the past few years, for no reason, it's become really hip to pretend that you were always into that. So that's what that Godzilla thing was marketed at. That's cynical of me, but that's what I feel. I feel that's what it is. And that's where Pacific Rim came from as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the things here, like most recently, like Cloverfield and King Kong.
I think Cloverfield kicked it off again. They're doing a King Kong prequel that takes place in
hated the most recent King Kong.
I didn't watch it.
It was another one that people were really, really interested in and said it was great. But it went on too long and I just couldn't buy it.
Was it a comedy? Jack Black was in it?
No, it wasn't. And Jack Black was in it. I just didn't like it. I'll give Godzilla a shot because it's nunny massive, but I don't really give a shit.
Nuneaton's taking the world by storm, isn't it? Jesus.
Flying.
We need a cathedral so we can finally become a city by law. How about Skull Island, the prequel to King Kong?
Again, King Kong was quite a while ago, so this will look better.
Yeah,
but I hate it.
It's going to be a spectacle. Like, you're going to have our giant animals, but I guarantee they're going to try and make it more palatable to modern audiences by coming up with some bullshit scientific rationalisation for why there's an island with giant monsters. And they're going to say, there's growth hormone in the rivers, or the oxygen content's different, or pressure's different, or something like that.
And it's
just going to be so fucking annoying.
I can't care about it enough. I have no ties to it. I'm not interested really in it.
Right, we've got 10 minutes left. The last thing on my list, Sting. Who's Sting?
Sting.
I'm not a wrestling fan. I do know who Sting is, really.
Sting is probably the biggest wrestler never to be in the WWF or the WWE.
Right.
AWA, all that. Then went to WCW. Was their big star.
Yeah, WCW is where I know
when
Sting
we
from.
were young, like the Monday Night Wars.
The two names that I know from WCW. Can you guess? Sting and
Goldberg.
Yeah.
Well, Sting, he's got the whole gimmick. He's one of the last gimmick, he had the crow gimmick for ages,
right.
Whereas the big long leather trench coat.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't say anything. He'll come down with a baseball bat and whose side are you on, etc. And when WWF at the time bought WCW, he was still contracted to somebody else, and he said he wouldn't go because he watched them treat WCW talent like shit. Basically, they just didn't book them well, whatever. And he never happened, and he went and wrestled elsewhere, etc. And for the past 3 or 4 years, every year it's been rumoured because he's only signed 1-year contracts with TNA, who he was with.
Right.
So it's it's going to happen. He's going to come. He's finally going to come.
Why else would he have signed a year contract?
Yeah, and everyone's like, this is going to be a huge moment because it's Sting, WWE. It's something that's never going to happen. Probably the biggest, best, great wrestler as well in his day. Biggest thing that could probably happen now is him versus Undertaker. Rumoured every year, and he would sign another contract, and he'd sign another contract. And then he left TNA 6 months ago, ages ago. Nothing happened. Rumours.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Okay, they announced that he'll be in the game, their new game, 2K15 WWE.
Right, but not.
But that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Nothing else.
So do you mean he would wrestle, but he wouldn't be signed with them?
Yeah, his character is basically all it is his character's in the game.
Right.
Which means they have his.
Oh, you mean the video game?
Yeah.
I didn't know what you meant. I thought.
Yeah, no, they announced that he'll be in the video game. That was it.
Right. Okay.
So okay, interesting. This might mean that he might come, or it might just mean he's given them rights, etc. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then nothing for a while, and then just out of nowhere, Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Is that where all this has been?
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, San Diego. Yeah.
He appeared on the WWE panel.
Yeah.
With Hulk Hogan, Daniel Bryan,
and he wasn't billed to be there,
and Paul Heyman, and he wasn't billed to be there. It was those three, because those three are huge. Daniel Bryan's probably the biggest
draw
internet star at the minute. He's big, everyone loves him. Hulk Hogan is the biggest star in wrestling ever, and Paul Heyman is former, he's a manager, promoter of ECW, very, very famous. That they would sell. I'd go and see them. And then Sting just showed up and sat down, and he was like, "It's showtime," and it was the first official thing WWE event he's been at. So he's ever. He's never wrestled, never appeared, never done anything, never shown any inclination to. And that's it. Now he's 50 or something, but he's under the banner of WWE, and it happened at Comic-Con, and it was just goosebumps.
Yeah. So this is a huge momentous.
People said it would never happen. He got to the point where he's so old that at the end of this year he'll either go to WWE or retire. and then he didn't.
So it's almost a loose end that's been tied up.
Yeah, like it was a matter of time before he either retired or did it.
Yeah,
and
he's done it.
And now he's done it. And well, the rumour for years was that he would wrestle Undertaker in a retirement match. Whoever lost would retire, and he would lose and retire.
Has he ever wrestled any WWE? Like with it while they were with WWE, I mean.
No, because they'll be contracted to the WWE.
Oh, okay.
He's wrestled like people who are now commentating, like Booker T. He was in WWE.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of older guys that he's probably met or wrestled.
Yeah.
Remember, do you know Shawn Michaels?
Yeah.
He left the WWE for years, and they co-promoted a Christian wrestling event because they're both like born again Christians, or whatever. But this is now like a big thing, and he might wrestle Undertaker. But he lost at the last WrestleMania, so it's up in the air.
What Undertaker did?
Yeah, to Brock Lesnar.
Was that like his streak was broken?
Yeah, he was 21-0, and then 21 WrestleMania.
Wait, so for 21 years,
yeah, he was
had the same fucking winner.
Yeah, but there's more than one match at WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
But the Undertaker match...
It was just that he won every match he was in for 21 years.
Yeah, and after a while it became like a thing.
Yeah, like a streak.
Because I think he's 48 or 49 now.
Yeah.
And so it became... He'd wrestle like once, maybe twice a year maximum. Who's going to challenge? Who's going to break it?
We've only got a few minutes before we're at 3 hours, but...
Sting.
Where is wrestling going?
Where is it going?
What's going to come of wrestling in 10 years? Is it sustainable? Do people... Is that palatable to young people?
Wrestling will...
Or is it just going to be people who are already fans will still watch it until they die and then... Like, what's going to... How...
Wrestling's in a bad place at the minute. And
what do they need to do to...
It's cyclical, wrestling. There's up and down.
Yeah.
And like the Attitude Era was the last big up because it was something that never...
2001 or whatever it was.
Yeah, like the late 90s to like early 2000s was like the last
like the Rock.
big... Rock, Tyson was there, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all that.
Yeah.
It was like a
when
big...
I watched it.
And everybody watched it, and that's the thing that needs to happen again. Where that...
But how do you... Because, I mean, campiness, for whatever reason, has been a big theme of this podcast.
Yeah.
Is the campiness that wrestling has at the moment sustainable? Should they get rid of it? Should they replace it with some other type of campiness? Like, what should they do?
Well,
should they make it meta?
The campiness is never going to go away.
But can they... I mean, I feel like they could make it meta in some way where they... Maybe one of the writers starts wrestling or something like that, or they admit that they're characters or something like that. Like, that's something that people like nowadays. People like cleverness.
But that's...
What can they do to...
While it's acknowledged publicly by a company that, you know, it's predetermined and people play characters and this isn't who they are, there's still people within the industry, especially people in power, Vince McMahon's and his cohorts, who the industry, when they were growing up, was big, tough men who would kick the shit out of you if you said it was fake. And so there's still that thing of, well, we're never on television going to acknowledge that these aren't fucking monsters.
So that's just not going to happen?
Well, because you'll reference the internet because this is like... They call it the reality era, I don't know. But they'll reference the internet and marks and smart marks, but they won't take it that step. They won't go to that point, I don't think, ever. I'm just... I
mean, we've been going 2 hours and 57 minutes now, so we've got to stop really, but... But I think iTunes does something when you reach 3 hours or something.
Really?
I think so, I'm not sure. But I think it's something to do with compression. But anyway, I'm not sure about that. It'd be interesting to talk about, though. But let's just say, at the very least, Sting is back. And that's something that will at least bring wrestling back into the public eye for a while. Maybe that'll give them the opportunity to do whatever it is they need to do to make wrestling...
To kick on.
Something that... At least something that kids like, maybe, so that a new generation is into it, you know?
Well, let's hope so.
Maybe they should bring MMA into it.
Some do, but that's it.